Step in the room, it'll mood, it'll wave. Gloss on my lips and my hustle well paid. Silk in my step, got a vibe you can't fake. Sugar and smoke with a hint of heartbreak. Eyes low, truth high. Talk sweet, but I don't lie. Cool breeze, but I burn slow. You ain't team fire in a glow like so. I'm velvet and vices, jazzed up in slices. Trap queen dreams with a saxophone soul. I don't chase, I stroll. Heavy crown like toast. Tune in, sit back, let the story unfold. Lights in the scene set just right. Gold on my skin, catch the glow in the night. Whisper my name, feel.
Hello. Are we back live? Because I'm not on that screen right now.
Yeah. I see it.
Okay. Oh, that was real short. That was only 1 minute. I thought I had to do. That's what I get.
Oh my God. See, she cut out already.
Hey, Triggs. Thank you for being a member for 9 months. Hey, T-Pre. Hey, Shaq Rack Black. Hey. Okay, listen. Welcome to, Mind Chaos Brew FBI edition. Mm-hmm. We have a lot to unpack. Me and my good sis was talking today. Y'all know how it go. We get to talking out. Shout out to T-Pre, member for 8 months. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you. Y'all make sure y'all double tap the screen, hype the video, share it out, subscribe. If you want to, sit a while, make a decision, then subscribe. I'm going to turn it on subscription mode only for the chatters, though. So if you ain't subscribed, then, you might have to subscribe, but you'll be okay. So
you gotta forgive Raw right now.
Yeah, I'll just be talking about shit a little bit, put a little background music on it. Put a little boondocks on. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the type of mood we on today. And we was talking about so much, especially when it comes down to current events and the state of affairs in the African American community. So, Lola, go ahead and kick us off. Talk your shit. Talk your talk.
Okay. So we was discussing really this issue that seems to be bigger than life within the Black community over recent events, i.e. the latest assassination on Charlie Kirk versus what some have said was an assassination on the infamous KS, Kevin Samuels. And we was just comparing notes on the outrage. And the question was, is this true outrage, or is this some hypocrisy going on here? Are we really talking about how we feel, or we just, programmed to think a certain way about things? And then ultimately, we had discussed about what should be our focus as a people, right? And how we've lost our way from what we need to be doing, and now everything is about money. Literally everything boils down to money. And so I proposed, not a solution, but a resolution, right? I think the solution is to make change. Resolution is for, what was it? To understanding, right? So I came to that because I didn't see I didn't see a solution for anything, and I know how that sounds. And let me say this, right? So Raw had asked me, did I feel that Charlie Kirk was racist, right? And I was hesitant to call him racist, not because he hasn't said anything that one might be like, what the? But really because I know the truth about myself. And I'm not about to throw myself under the bus, trying to throw him in front of the bus, right? So it's like we both can't be in front and underneath the bus. So I said nope, because if I call him a racist, then I got to turn around and call me a racist, because there's some things that people are like, Lola, you're a racist. but then I don't see it that way, but I know that's what the definition would be. So I don't want to, as they say, point one finger and then four pointed back at you. You see what I'm saying? Like, I didn't want to do that.
Agreed.
But again, I'm not excusing anything that's wrong, but I want to be fair in when I speak, and just kind of be self-conscious of my own, like, myself when I speak, because I thought you raised a good point, Raw, about the differences between celebrating and how people felt like it was just pure evil to celebrate the death of someone you disagree with. About what is it now, 2 years now or something? I don't know.
Yeah, about 2 years ago.
Yeah, about 2 years ago, everybody was up in arms calling certain people, certain demographics, the spawn of evil for celebrating certain deaths. And then now today,
we're gonna put a name on it. Okay. Roughly 2 years ago to the day when Kevin Samuels passed away, Black women were vilified for having no care for Kevin Samuels passing. Black women were vilified for celebrating his passing and them quoting his actual words. Black women were lambasted ad nauseum.
Yeah, that part. And what's interesting is I wasn't even thinking about that, but Raw brought it up, and I was like, "You're damn right!" Like, they were saying that. Like, listen, I must be getting. They were saying exactly that. So then I was like, "Well, damn, yeah, no. Right now we got a different problem. Right now, forget Charlie. We got a different problem because somebody got to explain to me how the same people celebrating today was over there like, you're gonna die and you're going to hell, and Jesus don't like that back then. Like, I would like to know, how do you get from one to the other, just so I don't be that person, at least later on. But I found that highly interesting. Like, we got our own situation like that already. So maybe this is the silver lining in the cloud. You feel me? Like, so we learn more about ourselves. But shoot, I'm trying to figure that one out.
Well, the thing of it is, like, Black people have all of these standards, all of these justifications, all of these qualifications when it comes down to Black people, how Black people should be, how they shouldn't be when Black people are successful, and then they get into a little bit of a kerfuffle with the other side. Oh, well, she finally got her nigger wake up moment. Oh, the Hodgkin twins, they finally got their nigger wake up call. Shannon Sharp, he finally got his Negro wake up call. And it's like, I'm gonna need y'all to really, like, grow up and catch a clue or catch a phase. Hey, Tina Mo, because you're welcome. Because at the end of the day, like, what is good for the goose is always going to be good for the gander. And the question within the Black community becomes, are you actually living up to the morality that you espouse out of your mouths? Or are you just talking because you have lips on your face? This is what this FBI is all about. Now, we're going to be talking about Kevin Samuels, Charlie Kirk, Austin Metcalf, and Carmelo Anthony, because that was another situation in which the Black community was celebrating. They were celebrating Austin Metcalf's death. And they were venerating an alleged killer as an innocent man. One content creator in particular, I'm not going to name their name, said if Carmelo Anthony is found guilty for the crime that he committed, we should burn it all down. And when I heard that, hey, Manny, when I heard that, I was like, what exactly are y'all going to be tearing down? Because the Black community is not sending buses. So y'all are not going to be, hopping in the car, taking a joyride to an affluent area or to an area outside of where you live and burning their things down to the ground. What the intention is, and I say this evidence-based, evidenced by all of the riots that we have seen throughout history. The community tears up its own community because the emotional regulation is thrown. Go ahead, sister.
I'll say this: I'm kind of tired of the every time something happens, instead of, and don't get me wrong, I think in history, and back up, in history, there was a time to quote unquote hold a demonstration, right? Like everybody come out and hold a sign up and show solidarity and all of that. There was a time for that. But in this day and time, with the way society is set up, you don't physically go out to demonstrate, right? Demonstrations is more like, digital footprints. It's more like where you stop spending money at. It's more like a lot of things, but that isn't one of them. So when we say, well, let's suppose somebody we think is innocent is in prison wrongfully, right? The way to get them out and make a point is to get in the back pockets of, those who are in power, not tear up anything. Because truth be told, every group got disgruntled issues with stuff that happens, right? But when they got a problem, they go to their senator and their congressman and say, hey, hurry up, we got this problem. They don't go and tear up their farms, their little neighborhoods, their little trailers and shit. They don't do that. That's
no, they don't. And I've been saying for years, it's about the politics. So the only uptick to the Charlie Kirk assassination is that now more Black people have their eyes a little bit on politics, and one can only hope and pray that more people of color, more minorities are starting to understand the inner workings of political society. Oh my God, they gave him a holiday. He didn't do anything to deserve a holiday. Well, if you feel like you have someone that you want to nominate for a holiday, then, there's ways to get that accomplished. I'm not your mama, so I'm not going to tell you how to do it. But I will tell you that, hey, Uncle Rick, how you doing? I thought you had a wrench over here. Hold on a second, Uncle Rick. So I'm not going to tell you how to do it because that's not my job, right? I'm just everyday people. But I will tell you this. Me and Lola was talking today. I also found a way to get the 3/5 promise removed from the Constitution. Hey, Almond, I'm not a lawyer, but I know how to accomplish an end. And to be quite frank, the 3/5 compromise is why a lot of Black people are dehumanized and looked at as less than. So the Black community as a whole should be pushing that initiative. Thank you very much, Uncle Rick, for the super chat. We gotta show a little love for the super chat. I never use this super chat thing, and I should. Where did it go? I have so many little things in here. Is it
Cash app poppin', yo, you're lighting the fuse. Super chat keen skewing mind chaos brews. Mind chaos brew, you're the spark, no cap. Dropping that cash, keep the chaos on tap. Thank you.
Thank you. Who are you calling the white folk bad jug now? But you have to actually go and research how to change the things that are affecting the world that you live in. Now, that's right. One of the things that we were talking about in our earlier conversation was the fake Christian outrage. So we're gonna look at a little video. We're gonna chat. We're gonna chop it up a little bit, and then we're gonna give commentary throughout. Y'all ready? Y'all ain't ready. Let's go. White folks are the devil. The Black church is creating racist. Now, this woman has a lot to say, and it's disheartening for those of us that have read the good book. But let's listen.
Has ever played on any of us is making us believe that it is some entity in some faraway place just being evil and plotting against us, and not that the devil is white supremacy.
we couldn't even make it 20 whole seconds into this video here, and we already at white supremacy. Okay. Let me just go ahead and run this back real quick. Dear ma'am, the greatest trick that the enemy, the devil, has ever played on you is to have you believe that God cares about your skin color more than the condition of your heart.
Amen. You better preach a word. You better listen. He better preach a word. Because see, this is ultimately my main point of contention with everyone celebrating Charlie Kirk's demise. What is the condition of your heart? What is the character of you as a human being that you are delighting in someone being assassinated? And yet you sit there and you spout and tout about Christian nationalism. What type of Christian are you? Lola, what's your thoughts so far?
Let me choose my words carefully, right? I feel like there's a fundamental belief about how to be a Christian, right? There's a fundamental belief about Christianity in terms of following the ways and teachings of Jesus. However, maybe not even in recent days, but there has been a split on such a basic idea. And what he's saying is true. Like, there's no evidence that, you know, your entry into heaven or hell is based on your skin color. Never mind what they're doing in India in terms of that caste system. Okay. There's no evidence of that. And so, but the problem is, at least from what I'm seeing, is that very basic idea, right, is not a unified belief. Like, it's you would think it's simple, right? Like, very simple. But some people are maybe confused, maybe they're not convinced. I don't know. But that's a very basic thing for me to see a split within the Christian community, whereas you have a Christian stating a fact, but then you have another Christian speaking something very different. And it's like, I mean, not that anybody is a scholar on religion, but if you're gonna profess to be Christian, right, that's heavy, because you're professing more than just your belief. You're professing how you come to judgment, how you show up in the world, and why you make the decisions that you make. That's not a light thing to say, well, I'm a Christian, and then start talking about supremacy, like, in terms of even your own, to talk about, like, I believe that, Black people are the supreme, and we are better, or whatever the case may be. That does not fit inside of the Christian paradigm. So for you to say you're Christian and then say that tells me automatically that, well, whether you right or wrong, you not really, like, something is off here. You see what I'm saying? Like,
right,
I'm not throwing it off.
You're not as much as a Christian as you say you are, because most Christians nowadays do not get up and go into the church to fellowship. Most Christians nowadays have church via YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, and some TikTok.
Yeah.
And then you're just going off of anybody's, understanding of the word. You have people that swear to God they're theologians, but if you ask them what school of study that they went to produce a theologian doctorate or degree, they cannot. But they're teaching you incorrectly. They're teaching you illogical fallacies predicated upon what the Bible does or does not say. Here's a little ditty about the Bible that a lot of people don't understand in current societies, because people are not religious because they love the Lord. People are religious based on tradition.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes down to religion and the Bible specifically, the Bible was written in Aramaic, Hebrew, and Greek. So there is a lot lost in translation. if you cannot speak the original Greek, the original Aramaic, or the original Hebrew, then you don't understand what the Bible really says, which is why there's so many translations. And people that harbor prejudice, bigotry, racism, hate, or anything else like that do not have the opportunities to go sit down with other people. Like, I've been in rabbinical study, sat down with a rabbi, asked questions from the original Hebrew to understand the God that I serve. I've gone to, the mosque. I've been an Islamic woman for a while. I made salat. I studied the Quran. So I understand how these books, while the religious practice is different between the cultures, how these books tie the fabric in the same. Right. And people will cherry pick one or two scriptures and be like, well, the Bible says that it was okay to have slaves. Is that really what the Bible says? I'm not going to tell you to interpret how to interpret the Bible. I will tell you to read for yourself. But let's get back. Right. They don't actually know the Bible that whole way. Let's get back to what this crazy ass lady was saying, and let's hear more about this.
Jesse, the greatest trick that the enemy, the devil, played on you, ma'am, was to have you worship at the throne of identity politics. You understand? See, when you start to make your complexion your God, that right there is an issue. Let us continue.
Not that the devil is, not that you have an actual enemy. And this is the greatest trick, because part of the reason why conservative Christian Black people have been saying RIP to a known anti-Black racist.
Y'all want to take a quick guess as to who she's talking about there? I'm not going to mention any names, but who could a pretend Christian Black woman, one of them ashwagandha, Wakanda forever types, who could she be talking about in reference to a white conservative Christian male who is now being accused, keyword accused, of being a racist, which he never was? Who may that be? Let me know in the comment section. Let us continue.
It's because you don't think that's your enemy. That's who the Bible is talking about explicitly when it talks about your enemy. Your enemy came to devour you.
Now, see, here's the thing where I take exception to what this woman is saying. Hello, Omni. In the Bible, right? When we talk about Jacob and Esau, or is it Esau and Edom? Either way, they were two brothers. He gives a very, very clear depiction and description. And one took the birthright of the other. Doesn't mean that one was the enemy to the other.
Right.
There was some trickery. There was some, you didn't follow what I said as your Lord, your God, and this is why you lost your birthright. See, when you are actually a Christian that actually believes and studies Jacob and Esau, thank you, Tina, and you study the Bible, then you understand the lessons to it. Because if we really get into it, Joseph and the Technicolor Code, the prodigal son and all of this and all of that, it was his own brothers that sold him into slavery.
Right.
It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't an outsider. It wasn't an outlier. And him being sold into slavery wasn't necessarily a bad thing, because it gave him time to develop character. And when he returned as the prodigal son, he inherited the full weight of his kingdom, and he was able to navigate that. Or should we talk about Moses as well? Moses was cast down the sea in a basket, given to the people that were the enemies, the oppressors, which led to an uprising. Y'all know the song, you good Black Christians, don't you? Let me remind you. Go down, Moses, way down in Egypt's land. Tell old Pharaoh to let my people go. How do you think that Moses even had Pharaoh's ear?
He was in it.
Now, if we want to really get into it, see, I'm going to say some things tonight that the Black community is not going to like. When Moses freed the people from Egypt, brought you out of bondage, because that's what Egypt actually means. The etymology of the word means bondage, slavery. God said, if you do not follow my tenets and my orders, I will return you to slavery. Catch. Yeah, don't follow God in your real life. Do you think being a single mother is following God? Do you think having sex outside of marriage is following God? Do you think being in the streets and being a vagabond is following God? Do you think getting drunk and high all the time is following God? Do you think harboring hate is following God? It's not. So you're not real Christians. Y'all are hypocrites to the highest degree. Hey, baby.
I think too, Raw, that sometimes when we read the Bible, sometimes the words is very basic, but they have let's say levels of meaning. So like when it talks about returning the chosen to slavery, right? And then you read in other parts of the Bible where it talks about the wages of sin is death, right? If you take those words to be literal, you might not see the connection, right? But if you understand the before mentioned statement, which is the wages of sin, and you know everybody sins, and let's suppose people who don't sin, right, they still die. So that verse can't be saying that just sinning makes you die. So there's some level of understanding that needs to be said there. I think for all intents and purposes, if what she's trying to say is because we were enslaved, that makes the people or the nation, whatever, that did the enslaving our enemy. You see what I'm saying? Then she has a tough hill to climb, because we can say that our own is our enemy, because we didn't just wake up here. According to history, we were sold by our brethren. You see what I'm saying? And I'll be honest with you, I don't know who's more of an enemy. Somebody who has a business that's buying slaves, or your own people who would sell you into it. I got my feelings about that, which is very harsh on the other side. But again, if she's gonna be professing Christianity specifically, now if she was professing some other religion, then we might be having a different conversation. But because she's professing that, she has to be very careful what she's talking about, because she is very much leading people astray by giving her own, let's say, personal view of something that's not for her. It's not based on her personal view. And that's why I always preface my statements when I'm really like passing judgment, that this is my personal view. It's just how I see it. This is my experience, because I don't want to say, listen, the truth is, unless I'm talking about something that I can actually substantiate with physical evidence.
A quantifiable truth. Exactly.
Right. That's it. But with her case, she's trying to, and while I can understand, she's trying to gain a campaign on that, and there's no need for it if it's the truth.
Exactly. But let's finish listening to it. Let's try to hold down POP. All right. Lord Jesus, help me.
Here God is gonna eat up his flesh on your behalf, and you praying. You praying. Good job, devil.
Yeah, I got time today.
No, but y'all go over there. Today is a day that I'm definitely going to be putting the links, because he got time and he really ate. He ate down. But she must have forgot about Jacob, right? All of these alleged Christians celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. Y'all forgot the God you serve? What a mighty God you serve. That God said to the devil, when the devil said, This person don't love you. These people don't love you for real. They only love you for what you give to them. God said, well, all right, I'm going to give you Jacob. Take everything from him, and I bet you he won't turn away from me. And guess what? Jacob passed the test. Jacob never wavered from God and from how he was supposed to serve and love God. He never blamed God. He never cursed someone else. He just lived his life following the laws that he had been told. So are you in fact right now being tempted by the devil? Did the devil trick you? Or did your personal ego allow you to think that you know more than God does? I'll wait. What you think, Lola, while I queue up our next video?
I am in lockstep with you in terms of nobody can pretend to know more than that which created them. That would be such an asinine thing to say and do. However, I do reserve some level of distancing, because some people may come to the same conclusion just through a different, let's say a different system. And they may say, because like, yeah, I'm aware of several different religions that would say, well, mocking the death of someone, even your enemy, is wrong. And they don't, you see what I'm saying? They're not Christian at all. So I do understand that. But see, that's what we're talking about. It's like, if you really are Christian, right? Forget if you subscribe to certain verses or whatever. If you really are Christian, for what that really means, you see what I'm saying? Well, if you read the Bible or not, everybody's looking at you to be a representative of what you say you believe, which is in the teachings and ways of Jesus. If you're not pushing that in ideology, then you're lying, essentially. Like you are, and no one is respecting you. And that's something humans are wired to do. They're wired to see patterns. And when that pattern is disrupted, they're wired to be on alert from it. That's just like natural. So that's not somebody hating on you because they see you saying you're a Christian, but then you're espousing something that doesn't follow the same logic. That's not hate. That's actual like nature happening, like in real time. So I can see that some people like do feel like he was a racist, and I'm not, not calling him that, but I don't think him being a racist is the matter of concern here. Unlike, and I think I said it to you before, if that man had came out his body and did something to somebody, you see what I'm saying? Like that, I think the conversation could be different. It could be more forceful in terms of what we should and shouldn't tolerate, in terms of what's physically done to us. But somebody disagreeing with how somebody is thinking. Yeah, listen, me and you have said harsher things about people up here.
That whole way. Listen, at the end of the day, because I do take in feedback from people, right? And I'm like, well, maybe I'm missing something. Mm-hmm. And I have been poring over with a fine-tooth comb Charlie Kirk's ideology, and I've not heard at one point where he was racist. Now, it's crazy to me because as a Black woman, Black people will call me outside of my name, use racist terminology towards me, terminology from the Jim Crow era, and then tell me that I'm wrong. And my husband as well. They'll say, well, why are you a Republican? Because the Democrats. So we're about to listen to hey, Shay Dunn, yes. And we're about to listen to a Black woman talk about her experience as a conservative Republican. Because is it that y'all have issues with people being conservative, or you have the issues that the Republican Party is gaining more traction in the African American community? And furthermore, most of you don't vote. Still had a call-in show last night, and people were calling into the show like, well, I never voted. I only voted for Obama, but you feel what? If you didn't vote, you have no feelings. You have no voice. You have nothing to say. You forfeited your rights when you didn't vote. You talk to the majority of Black people. They're like, oh, no, I don't vote. Oh, no, I didn't vote. So if you ain't voting, then why is you bucking? Didn't the Democrats tell you no voting, no bucking? Didn't they tell you get your booty to the poll? So what happened? But let's listen to this and then we're gonna get back to it. Like I'm petty. For real. When we sitting there, we talking about the numbers. Oh well, this many and that many and this many and that many. You sure? You sure? Because you don't vote. So how would you know?
Right.
Child, let me shut up. Come on, we're finna watch this lady talk her talk. Hey, Dr. Steele.
Now, this woman knows exactly what she's talking about. God bless Miss Peyton Jackson down in Texas. Say it louder for the people in the back.
When I first announced my run for Congress, I had this random white woman, liberal, walk up to me and ask, well, what about you isn't Democrat? To which I responded, well, besides my skin color, what about me is Democrat? And it was at that very moment that she realized that God gave her enough common sense to ask me about my values. Now, don't get me wrong, I was raised to vote Democrat down the ballot. So when I first started, I would say things like, I'm a Republican, but I'm not a conservative. But now I know all too well, I am a full-fledged, hardcore conservative, and I'm proud of it. I mean, my favorite saying is I was born Black, not Democrat. But in all seriousness, whenever I began to think for myself politically, the choice was easy. I mean, why would I want to belong to a party whose mission is to infringe on the Second Amendment as if a criminal would ever participate in something like a mandatory buyback? Why would I want to belong to and endorse a godless party? Because there is no such thing, and I mean no such thing as a trans child. We have confused children and sick enabling adults. Why would I want to belong to a party that takes pride in shedding innocent blood? Number one, as if that's not what God hates. Number two, as if there's not a Black market for baby organs. And number three, as if abortion clinics didn't start in the hood. Because if you think Trump is bad, you should research exactly who Margaret Sanger was. But speaking of the Black community, why would I want to belong to a party who's responsible for the foundation of the Triple K? But it's not just that. Supposedly in the 1900s, the party switched, right? But what never changed, what I noticed never changed, is Democrats' love for immigration and how they have always prioritized that over the Black community. I mean, imagine every single Democrat leader helping you joke about what a Black job is in 2024, exposing your ignorance on 1924 and how imperative the Immigration Act of that year was, how it was all reversed in 1965 with the Hart-Celler Act, how Congress refuses the advice of the Rockefeller Commission and the Hesburgh Commission, and how to this day they refuse to adopt the Barbara Jordan Blueprint, validating every single thing that Dr. Claude Anderson spoke of generally, but specifically what Mrs. King spoke of in 1991 with her letter to Congress. Now, look, I'm not saying that the Republican Party is perfect. No, nobody's perfect. What I'm saying is I side with Malcolm X when he said that the liberals were the worst thing that could ever happen to the Western Hemisphere, but y'all ignore that, just like how y'all ignore LBJ saying, and I quote, I'm going to have Negroes voting Democrat for the next 200 years, and by God, 60 years later, I see no sign of recourse, but rest assured your vote is your voice, even if it is a whisper. Thank you, Council. Mayor Parker, whenever you...
Ooh. And everyone, Jay Dunn she's family. She cool. Let her live. Don't do that, please. Thank you kindly. But Lola, what's your thoughts? Talk to me now.
So I echo her sentiment in that she was born Black. She wasn't born a Democrat. I think that is something that not too many people really know the depths of that. And I think she did spell it out in terms of when people see her skin, they assume her political identity, because we've been polarized that much that to be Black is to agree with the Democrats. And she said it correctly, starting with LBJ. Now I'm aware that he had other agendas with other donors there. So I feel like she probably should have finished that statement all the way out, but never mind that. That's why I'm independent, not because I'm a liberal, but because I just couldn't join either party. I just didn't want to give someone my allegiance when if I don't feel like the Democrats or the Republican side is serving me, I don't want to give them that. And that's because I feel like you should have to work for my vote. Just having two sides is a problem for me. However, it's a reality, and I'm fine with that. But I do think that if we were more educated on what these parties are really about, what she said about the godless party, that would, like we're talking about right now, if you are a Christian, right, how your justification for being a Democrat, which is not the same as being for democracy, I don't see how you purposely like bring those two things to be congruent. Like I just don't see it. I don't know. Maybe somebody can explain it to me, but I don't see it. And not because I'm biased, but because I have looked at it and I said, okay, so if the core tenets of being a Democrat are X, Y, and Z, and all those things are anti-Bible, anti-religion, anti-Jesus teachings, anti the culture of Christianity, it's like, how do you sit and say I'm a Democrat and a Christian? I don't know. Now I can see how people can put together the Republican and Christian. I can see that, but even that, it's a stretch, but it can work at times. But the Democrat thing, I've always felt like y'all, I don't, this ain't even a reach right now. But if you want to be Democrat, you got a right to do what you want to do. But I do agree with her that it's a lot that people really don't understand about the Democratic Party. And to your point, Raw, about like that commercial that get your booty to the poll and all of that, that was Democrats' viewpoint of Black people. Now, the Republican Party would never push no rhetoric like that to its Black population, because that would basically circumvent the culture of the Republican Party. You're not going to see a Republican ad doing no craziness like that, but you see a Democratic ad doing that because, like she said, this is the godless party. Like, I'm not trying to come down on you if you Democrat, but that commercial is still Googleable. Like, we can see that you don't care about Black men. You think their vote is easy. You think they're over sexually stimulated, and you can use that to garner votes. And my thing is, let me lean in. Let's suppose Black men are fucked up when it comes to their sexuality, and they'll do anything just so that they can, have some sort of sexual experience, right? What kind of God-filled person or entity are you to utilize somebody's downfall so that you can profit? Like, really? Even if I want to give them what they're looking for, like, where are we with this Christian thing? So again, there's that hypocrisy there, or maybe just a downright lie. Maybe this is literally just a downright lie. I remember finding out that Martin Luther King was a Republican. And I was like, how was that? Then I learned about the history of the KKK and the Democratic Party. And I'm like, oh, makes sense. So how did we get here? Then I had to learn about LGBTJ. So, I mean, I heard no lies, for real.
But this is the thing. See, you done just said something that's going to make the people lose their mind. Martin Luther King Jr. was a Republican. But we're going to get back to it. First of all, I want to say thank you to Supreme View. The Supreme View, you guys go check him out. He's hilarious. The content is super dope, super good. Subscribe. Thank you to Almond Eyes for the gifted membership. Content is always on fire. Please go over there and support. And, thank you to everybody that has been supporting the show so far. Let me give you all a little,
Cash app poppin', yo, you're lighting the fuse. Super chat keen skewing mind chaos brews. Mind chaos brew, you're the spark, no cap. Dropping that cash, keep the chaos on tap. Thank you.
Now, I want to highlight someone in particular that is a Black content creator, a man by the name of O'Shea Duke Jackson.
Okay.
Now, O'Shea Duke Jackson has been pivotal in disseminating information about what's happening in these YouTube spaces, the celebrity junk, and all the gossip, especially including politics and the manosphere. Now, he did a video about people who celebrated Kevin Samuel's demise, but he also did a video about why Black people shouldn't celebrate Charlie Kirk. And I want to take a look at both of them, and I want to see if you see what Miss Ruby sees. Mhm.
Assault, the left. Yes, the campus Antifa. I've been stormed out of restaurants. I've been assaulted publicly, multiple death threats.
Black people are only 13% of the population, yet they commit 55% of the murders. Why?
On September 10, 2025, Charlie Kirk was at Utah Valley State University in Orem, Utah. This was a public appearance, a part of his American Comeback Tour. And Kirk was standing under a tent, and then all of a sudden, the crowd went into terror. And authorities believe that the shot came from a building approximately 200 yards away. Ultimately, he was hit by a sniper. And after being wounded, he was hospitalized. And later, he was pronounced dead. People thought that they had the shooter, but they didn't. And the shooter is still on the loose. And the conservative right are devastated. Many people across the country are paying their respects to Mr. Charlie Kirk, including President Donald Trump. The White House posted on X, in honor of Charlie Kirk, President Trump is ordering all American flags throughout the U.S. to be lowered to half-mast. And this is what he said verbatim. In honor of Charlie Kirk, a truly great American patriot, I am ordering all American flags throughout the United States lowered to half-mast until Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Now, Charlie Kirk was a political commentator, but also an organizer. At 18 years old, he started Turning Point USA, who's going all around the country, galvanizing the American youth to become conservative.
I'm going to fast forward a little bit because this is the major bone of contention.
Damn! Now that's very interesting. Okay. Not only was Charlie Kirk call out the left, he also called out things concerning Black holidays.
It's Juneteenth. What exactly is going on here? Well, very few people are willing to actually call this out. From the first time that this was floated as a federal holiday, I am thankful and proud to say on this program, we opposed it. This is not about out of many one. No, it's about a certain skin color now gets their own summertime celebration. The exact same thing that happens before NFL games where they play the Black national anthem. This recognition of this as a quote unquote federal holiday comes right out of the 1619 Project. Look who's most excited that this is a federal holiday. And they're not talking about this as a massive celebration. Oh, wow, look how far Blacks have come. It has now become a racial complaining day. Now we have a full day to be able to smear and slander white America. This holiday is a wedge, and I put in quotes, holiday is a wedge used to push for countless destructive policies demanded by BLM. And remember what BLM stands for: burn, loot, and murder.
Now, this is where...
Now, let's talk about it. Because people have talked their shit about Juneteenth and this holiday. Amina says Juneteenth was a political move, and as usual, we didn't see it. Now, Amina, we might have to make you a member of the FBI, girl, because you sharp, girl. Hey, Eater Man, you sharp, girl. But they will sit there and say that his take on Juneteenth is racist. What say you?
So I'm gonna say this, right? I feel like he's doing everyone a disservice by just saying we oppose Juneteenth, right? Because first of all, Juneteenth don't hurt him. Juneteenth don't take no money out of his pocket. Juneteenth, white people are off and enjoying their day off in the federal government. Let me tell you, I work in DC in the government. They be with their cookouts. They might not be celebrating the end of anything. They might not be celebrating Black people, but they be off enjoying themselves. So he really needs to like pipe down with like the it seems like he got a little bit of fake outrage with that. But two, Juneteenth was a thing before it became a federal holiday. But to his point, well, why is the federal government acknowledging any holiday for that matter? Because, I mean, really, like, does the federal government need to acknowledge any federal holiday? I mean, I could look at Christmas for real and say 300 years ago in America, Was there a Christian holiday called Christmas that everybody was celebrating? Like, some people would argue that that's against certain religious beliefs to host a day just giving gifts away, because Jesus' birthday was not about giving gifts and trees and all this other stuff that roots back into paganism. People could argue that and say, why is the federal government celebrating a Christian holiday when it's more than Christians here? And one could argue a bunch of things about the founding of this country. So my thing is with him, if you're outraged because the federal government is acknowledging a holiday, then what you're going to do is talk to me about all holidays. Because what you're not going to do is have holidays that honor in any degree, okay, white people, right, for their accomplishments, or what have you, right? Even Valentine's Day. I've seen some things. And then complain about the fact that we get one more day off on Juneteenth. Like, listen, I'm going to just need him to be a bit more fair with that, because if it was a political move, let's just say it was, right? Then it was. But the fact that Juneteenth existed before it was a federal holiday amongst us, that don't have nothing to do with what he's saying. Don't affect us. That's our holiday. We acknowledge that. It just so happens that the federal government want to be in on our shit. Like, it don't mean nothing. Juneteenth don't mean shit to nobody but Black people, because that's a day that we acknowledge for whatever reason. How it became a federal holiday, I mean, is whatever. But he can't sit there and just say, I oppose it, but then don't lay the foundation for the fairness of the federal government not acknowledging holidays for whatever reason. Like, he has to give more than that. And to his point about crime, 13% of the population, 50% of the crime. I don't know about everybody, but I mean, I have a degree in forensic science, so I've taken a lot of criminal justice courses, and that is a gross misunderstanding of statistics. Seriously. And I think, bro, me and you talked about how statistics are very much skewed when you got people who are not Black claiming to be Black and when they commit crimes. Foreigners that come here and claim to be Black when the police get in their rear view, or when they commit crimes when they're illegals and say, oh, I'm Black. And that just gets counted into our numbers. And so we just look crazy. Shout out to the Grace Effect. But it's like, just, this what he's, and I don't think that he means any harm by it, because he's really trying to like clean up some shit. But what I don't understand is how he doesn't see that statistics this is what Democrats do. Take a statistic, right? Don't give you the context and to push an agenda that has nothing to do with the statistics. That's what they do. So if he sees what they do, he got to, at least if he wants to push the right side of history, he got to actually stand on truth. And the truth is not 13% of the population. And then only 56% of crime is like, no, sir, that is not the truth. And I don't believe in lying on white people, but I definitely don't believe in misskewing my own statistics. Because if that's the case, then, I mean, my whole experience of Black people is wrong. But I know that's not the truth. So I don't think he means to diminish us. I think he's trying to speak to a truth, but that truth is more complicated than what he's actually giving it credit for. And I think that, like this situation where he kind of moved his stance a little bit on, certain things, he might have needed more time to see, no, sir, the American statistics is not that cut and dry. That, like, you know what I mean? He might have gotten to that point, but it does kind of come off like, the fuck are you trying to do here, Kirk? But hey, we all have our problems. We've all been wrong before.
So this is the thing, and I hear you, right? And I wanted to hear you out fully so that we could really do the deep dive into it. At the end of the day, he never said Juneteenth shouldn't be a holiday. Mm-hmm. He spoke to BLM, burn, loot, you know what I'm saying, and some more. And that's true. BLM, whatever, has been very detrimental to the Black community, wasn't funded by Black people, and didn't actually help the Black community. Now, in regards,
what did they have to do with the Juneteenth conversation? Because I don't know much about them.
I'm about to break it down to you.
Oh, okay.
So, Black Lives Matters actually campaigned to make Juneteenth a federal holiday. it was a holiday that we were already celebrating, yes, but his statistic was a little bit off on that. When it comes down to people that commit deletions, Black people are 35% and Caucasians are actually 55, 56%. So he did have that statistic inaccurate. It was skewed a little bit wrong. He might have been reading through it real quick before he went to podcast. We all do it. It's always happened. Also, I want you guys to remember this was 5 years ago, right? This is when he was 26 years old. So that's a young man. That's a young man that's being a little hot-headed, a little, egotistical, maybe a little arrogant. Yes, either man, they advocated for Juneteenth to be a federal holiday. But this was amidst all the debates on race following the George Floyd protests and the 2020 election cycle. So the bigger question that Black people need to ask is this. Juneteenth is something that Black people have been celebrating for the better part of a century before it was made a federal holiday. Halloween is not a federal holiday. Valentine's Day is not a federal holiday. Mother's Day, Easter, Father's Day, Flag Day, Hanukkah, Eid al-Fitr, and Diwali, those are not federal holidays, including Cesar Chavez Day in California. It's a holiday that we celebrate, but it's not a federal holiday. And his issue was not about the holiday itself. It's about the fact, why did we make this a Black holiday? And we're not doing like a Juneteenth parade where we're celebrating the achievements of Black people. There's not Juneteenth specials where we are highlighting the best and brightest minds in the African-American community. Hell, even these content creators that are taking exception to him talking about Juneteenth, they're not doing Juneteenth content. They're not celebrating the community on Juneteenth. Juneteenth becomes a day where, like every other day, people just sit back, they get their drink, they get their snacks, they go on social media and they say, hey, remember when the white people enslaved us and then we broke free? See, it's the same thing like that movie 12 Years a Slave, like how every single year we have some slavery movie from the antebellum South. Now, when it comes down to my perspectives on Charlie Kirk's thought process, I feel like a lot of the stuff he was saying, he was thinking in 4D chess. However, his delivery could have been refined. So because his delivery was so abrasive, like he's one of those people that kind of speaks like me to a degree. Like you just say it and you like, I know what I'm saying, so everybody else should know what I'm saying too. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I mean this, but if they want to take it that type of way, well, hey, I don't care. You just go talk about it. But I said what I said. And he was very specific in what he said there. So now O'Shea is like, well, that's the reason why Black people aren't upset that he passed away and blah, blah, blah. But in a video that he did just 4 months ago, not even around the time that Kevin Samuels died, but 4 months ago, he puts in the comments, he pinned this comment to his own video. She's so broke and dusty. Never trust them. The video is she celebrated Kevin Samuels' death and now she's broke.
Brothers weren't trying to hear about themselves, but what they were trying to hear about was how it's the women's fault.
Interesting.
So then he blew up, and then our dumbasses went and supported him. You know what I mean?
Again, this happened exactly when Kevin Samuels passed away, and Marlon Wayans had made a statement in the defense of Kevin Samuels, and so they were basically recapping, made a statement in the defense of Kevin.
Now, what does this statement that Marlon Wayans said say? I know you guys may not be able to see because it's a little tiny, so I'm going to read it to you. Marlon Wayans said, love or hate him, he spoke his truth. We can view truth as hate, but sometimes his bold medicine didn't taste so sweet. And if you hated, why tune in? Why call in? Because healing comes in many forms. His was some nasty ass tasting medicine, but there's no right and wrong in this love shit. There's just discovery. Thank you for those you healed, and we forgive you if there were any damages, because we know your intention was to heal. And honestly, fuck, you was hilarious. In this moment, I pray for you and your family, all those you've healed that can't call into your show. I hope you can heal more and reach more in heaven. Rest well. Appreciate you trying to hold on and express masculinity. Now, one could argue that Charlie Kirk also delivered some nasty ass medicine. But see, we gonna listen a little more.
For allegedly doing this.
Why she call you a scammer? But she hit you up. She just bought a house. She just bought a house not too long ago.
But she had property here in LA that she was renting. So the girls who would hit me up and be like, "Hey, David, I need this done. I need this type of paperwork done." And you know, I'm all for helping the girls who got bad credit or got criminal convictions or whatever they got going on, get housing.
So what did you do for Scratchy Cat?
Baby, I did some bank statements. It was right in this video, in this picture. We had.
So because she was speaking to the fact that Black women were stupid to follow Kevin Samuels, while Kevin Samuels was denigrating Black women, he's putting, he's making a video using other people's videos to highlight how she's a brokey and she doesn't have any money, further humiliating her, while putting in his video a screenshot of how we were supposed to love or hate him, but respect his transition onto greener pastures. So we have this pinpoint ideology when it comes to what we consider celebrity. But I offer this. Marlon was correct. Charlie Kirk has some nasty ass medicine. And if you didn't like it, why tune in? And if you didn't tune in enough to understand his body of work, why critique the man, call him a racist, a white supremacist, and some more, because he utilized a talking point or a perspective that is foreign to you, because your perspectives are more likely than not limited in your culture, in your community, because most Black people aren't too friendly to go be with other races unless they want to sleep with them, or unless they want to get a one-up on people within their own community. I would think so many more Black people understand white thinking, since all of them think that white women are better, white men are better, they have more money, they have better credit, this, that, and the third. You mean to tell me you want to go sleep and lay up with who you consider your enemy, who God put here to devour you? Nah, that can't be right. Go ahead, Lola.
So clearly it's about keeping the same energy. And and that's what I'm saying. It's kind of hard to keep the same energy when you make certain statements, right? And like I'm saying, I can't say that Charlie Kirk's opinion on any particular topic is, something that's easy to hear, especially when he's not being careful in terms of his delivery. But, and Raw, this, it's not about what you say, it's how you say it. And I could have made his case for him just in a different way, where Black people would have been ecstatic. Like, there's a way to say things, but you have to know your audience. And if you're talking to a group of far right wing people that could care less about your delivery, as long as you're not talking about them, then sure, you're gonna blow up. But the minute you start talking like that about people who are supporting you, then you're gonna have a problem. And this is why and despite what the news is showing, as far as like what happened on that day that he was assassinated, I believe that happened as a result of his rhetoric and not even about Black people. I feel like it was acceptable when he was, speaking directly to power about the Black community. But the minute he decided to, he said all he needed to say, now he then shifted his conversation to another community. Now he got problems. Now people taking money. Now people telling him what to shut up and when to shut up and how to shut up. And he feeling like, nah, And it's like, now you got a bigger problem. And so it's like, at the end of the day, no matter what community you're talking about, one, you have to have the authority to speak. Two, you have to be very, very accurate or damn near accurate. And three, you have to be a master of words. If you want your message to be, because it's one thing to criticize our own community, but if, like me and you know, if you're going to sit online and criticize the Black community, but then we find out you ain't doing nothing to contribute, or you're contributing to the problem, suddenly there's no respect given to you. I don't care how fucked up Black people are. If you're contributing to the problem and you're criticizing at the same time, nobody respects you. So that isn't limited to Black people. And I feel like just his delivery in and of itself, not even his opinion, but his delivery is something that was not, it wasn't very respectful. It almost came off like, I don't care like how I say it, as long as I say it. And sometimes, right, you might have the right to say something, but it might not be right for you to say a thing. Like, you have to be clear with what you're trying to do with your statement, especially when you have a platform as big as he is. And I don't think he said everything wrong. I think some things was just like normal stuff that people say. Like, you know, I think he said something about issue in the Black community being Black fathers, right? However, even though he said that, in context, that can be challenged. You see what I'm saying? And I don't think he did the conversation justice to cap it there and then kind of go back and forth with young people about that issue, when in reality, they not the ones to go back and forth with. Like, they really not the ones. But if you're going to go back and forth, make it comprehensive. So it's like, you know, so that you don't get accused of being racist and people totally turn their ears off to you because they feel like you're not one to tell them anything. And I've had to learn that lesson myself in my personal relationships, that how you speak is often the difference between someone listening to you and you being successful, or the issue becoming a non-issue, or not. And so I do feel like, as Black people, whether we like what he said, whether he meant it, whether he's a real racist or not, we do have to look at what people are saying about us, what our image is, and then taking a stance and actually putting our foot to the pedal. One criticism he had about Black culture, I felt, even though he was correct, I felt like the direction of his criticism was in the wrong place. When he was talking about the over-sexualization of every single thing, no morals everywhere when it comes to our music, just a whole bunch of shit. Not just the music, that's just common. However, he wasn't lying. He was saying the truth, but my thing is, the only reason why this exists is because people are getting paid. And people are getting paid before they put that shit out to the public. So it's not like the public is paying for it. No, these people already got paid. So who is pushing this propaganda to the Black community that's now spilling over into the white community, according to him?
Black people.
What I'm saying is, the people who say, hey, if you're willing to sell your soul and basically poison your own community, I got a check for you. At some point, we got to say, listen, as a country, we need to put regulation on what can and cannot happen based on morals. Because right now, everything is about, if you can get paid from it, it goes. And we're diminishing as we speak. We're not having families. We're not having children. Social Security is in jeopardy. Like, air is in jeopardy at this point because of these other issues. And so I feel like, even though what he's saying is correct, if you direct it at the wrong direction, you see what I'm saying? I don't think you're going to get a result. Like, you're just probably going to get the same thing. People are going to feel emboldened because now they're angry and insulted, right? And then the problem is not going to be resolved at all. And it's not enough, let's say, conservative Black people. It's just not enough to make any real power moves in the Black community, let alone in the country, when it comes to regulation of the bullshit. Like, there's some stuff I've seen on Netflix, for instance, right? That it's like, first of all, Netflix should be able to be regulated when it comes to content, certain types of content on there, to protect children and protect people who just don't want to see certain things. But
they are.
Well, what I'm saying is, there's some measures that they can do to help, for instance, people who are, you know, let's say parental guides. There's more parental guides that we can we can explore, because technology is just moving at a pace that is hard to keep up with, especially as a parent. So I feel like Charlie Kirk's message is a good message, but you can't just tell, rowdy Black people, you shouldn't be rowdy. No, you should make that. There should be regulation, whereas though whatever rowdiness is going on with them, we not going to incentivize that shit.
Well, I think that's kind of hypocritical, right? Because America has incentivized the rowdiness going on in multiple places over the history of these contiguous United States of America.
That's true.
Their insertion and being allies in other countries that they have nothing to do with. Like what's happening in the Middle East. All my life, literally all my life, we've been in war or occupying some part of the Middle East. That's literally a holy war. That's why it hasn't ended yet. It's not going to end until Jesus come back. So y'all might as well give that up. Oh, y'all, I'm against Israel. I'm for Israel. It ain't none of your business, for real. Just keep your nose about it. Just be a spectator and watch, because that is something that God is working out in that land. All of you Christians, all you good Christian folk, did you not read your Bible? Do you not understand what's going on over there?
But that's what Charlie Kirk was talking about. The end of doing stuff like that because it doesn't fit the correct narrative for one, the Christian community, and then two, a quote, America first. But right. That's what I'm saying. He's talking to the system that says, hey, we're going to support ratchetness in this section over here, and then we're going to complain that we going out at the same time. We got to stop this shit. But the problem is he spoke to that politically, but when it comes to the Black issue, he just kind of was speaking to the ratchet people, not the actual institution that creates that and allows it.
I disagree with that as well. He talks to Black a lot about policy, and when he was talking about, Black fathers in the home specifically, he made a very valid point. There are no more white supremacy laws on the books. And the things that people in the Black community say are holding them back is government and welfare primarily, right? That's a key action item, right? Because it's the single mamas and the baby daddies and the child support. That's all part of the welfare system. So when he was having that conversation,
he's saying that we are complaining about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Because how we get to wealth in America, and we know this, and we know this within our own communities, is marriage and family. So at the point that the fathers are not in the home, wealth is destabilized, because now what should be two incomes shoring up one household is divided. And it further weakens Black men. Because Black men paying child support are now at a disadvantage in their own households, because their households have to be absent whatever percentage of the income that they make to pay for their kids. Now, we know it's supposed to be 20%, but the reality is family court judges and magistrates, I know a few men in particular that have been left with little to no money in their pockets after they pay their legal obligations, right, either man. And then when women, single mothers, are on social services, that money doesn't stay within the Black community, because the child support that's paid is seized by the government, because the government is compensating and taking care of housing, insurance, food, and everything else. So that is actually the biggest devastation and detriment to the African American community, as well as Planned Parenthood, which is why I was glad old girl brought up Margaret Sanger. Everybody thinks that Planned Parenthood is like the best shit ever, but Planned Parenthood is in the hood, and Planned Parenthood is also a function of eugenics. I'm just going to say it. It is what it is. It is to eradicate the African American community. What up, JL? Y'all got to do y'all research. So if our families are fractured, but yet and still we still having sex and entertaining each other, we are now in a contagion, right? There's a contagion in the Black community, and sex is the mode of transportation for this parasite to spread. Hey, JJ Carver, I've been living my best married life, honey. I've been in the cut. But you know, that's a parasite and a pathogen to spread within our community, because then you have a man, right? It could be any man. We'll just say bad duck. You know, you're not black, but you know, just play the role. Stay with me. Walk with me, y'all. If bad duck has a baby by you, has a baby by me, has a baby by Tammy, and he has to now pay 20% of his income to Tammy, 17% to me, 15% to you, just depending on the order of however who has the kids. That is more than 50% of his income. Now, if we are on social services, that 50 plus shut up, Panda. That 50+% of his income that's supposed to go to the children of the community is actually going to the government to recompense them for what they're pulling out in the first place for these children. So in the Black community, our community teaches it's okay to have outside sex, which is also a way to divest the funding in our community from our community. Because if JJ Carver is married to you, and then JJ Carver goes have sex with Almanize, and then he has a baby with Almanize, money that should be for you and JJ and y'all family, now a portion of that is diverted to Almanize. And if Almanize is on social services, then that money goes back to the government, and then she still has to reach out to JJ Carver to get basic necessities for her child. So when we look at what he's saying in totality, yeah, it's a bitter pill to swallow, and it sucks. I'm playing Mrs. Carver. We were just using examples. This example. Thank you kindly. But when you have Black people that's out here and they are promoting for devastation and despair within our communities, they're the racists. They're the white supremacists. When you have Black men that are constantly saying, well, Black women ain't shit, Black women ain't shit. When you constantly have Black women, Black men ain't shit, Black men ain't shit. That's tearing down our community. And because people like Kevin Samuels, Osei Drew Jackson, and whoever else have made it so ridiculously popularized, Anton Daniels and whatever else, to constantly bash and disseminate Black women, and they have so much popularity because they have such big platforms. And then you have people pushing back against them. Well, no, it's not Black women, it's you Black men, and whoop, whoop, whoop. The Black community looks a whole fucking fool. So when somebody says something basic as if, hey, you know, y'all handled most of the issues with white supremacy with the civil rights movement, now let's get back to families. How is that a racist? People are just looking for a reason to be mad. And another thing is this, and don't tell nobody, come in close, everybody come in close, bring your phone close to your face. Charlie Kirk never said anything negative, for real, towards Black women, outside of what he said about Joy Reid after the Harvard Supreme Court incident. He always addressed Black men.
Okay. So I think that there's a whole lot to what you said, and I'm not taking away from it. But on the principle of how you speak, being part, just as much a part of your delivery, is the sticking point for me. So while he spoke to truth to power when it comes to where the problem lies, no, I'm sorry, not where the problem lies, where the problem ends. The problem ends when the baby is created and now the family is broken. That's the end result, right? There's nothing beyond that. The disparagement, I forgot how to say that word, but disparaging. The disparaging part of it is the finance part hits first, and then it just kind of trickles down until you get to the broken family. That's like the end of the line. However, my issue with him is that he's speaking to, let's say, a tentacle, but it's not the root. You see what I'm saying? And I always tell you, it's always about small things that make a big problem, right? So when I say he failed to speak to the systemic issue for that problem in specific, right, within the Black community that he's speaking to, because again, he's not part of the Black community. So if he's going to speak to a community that he is not a part of, he needs to make sure that he is speaking directly to something that can be found and can be proven, and thus has a solution. Saying there's broken families is easy, but talking about how we get there and who's really to blame, that's more intricate. So you have to be educated to speak like that on said community, and just like seeing stuff on TV is not enough. But just to kind of flush out the point, when it comes to being the culture of saying, hey, you can have sex whoever you want to do, forget marriage and all of that, right? What percentage of our perception of, you know, sex before marriage is influenced by commercials? Like, so just commercial, but the commercials. What part is influenced by the fact that Planned Parenthood is not specifically as it used to be for married couples? Like, we're saying, hey, forget being married. You can get this and get the benefit like we used to give married couples back in the day that needed a doctor's note to even get this. What are we saying when it comes to, just for instance, what is it? The penalty for adultery in marriages, right? You get into a marriage and you break it based on adultery, there should be a stiff penalty for that, because that's a contract not only with the person, but that's a contract with the state that also contributes to the federal government and our GDP, for goodness sake. So it's like, what penalties is there for, again, the issue of sex before marriage, sex during marriage, not with your spouse, and stuff like that? What culture do we have as a country, not as a group of African Americans, as a country that says it's okay? All I see is people being incentivized to do this. I just see incentives everywhere, and not simply because Black people are in power. I see the incentives not just for Black people, even though we talking about Black people, that incentive is nationwide. So no, it doesn't matter if you Black, white, or Chinese or whatever. If you just so happen to want to go and, you know, buy, you know, vagina or buy a penis and then get pregnant by it, and nobody's going to penalize you per se. You might get benefits, and sometimes people have gotten benefits for life. I remember back in the 80s, people spent decades just having babies and being home, not working, collecting money, and they were straight. So we were literally incentivizing this type of behavior as a country systemically. So my thing to him is, he need not specifically only talk about African Americans as if they're the only ones having sex outside of marriage, or even existing in a world where that's the case. I can talk about many countries that have stiff religious rules, and the underbelly is all about sex outside of marriage. Okay, like it happens, but the problem is, unlike those other countries, we don't have a stiff penalty for being found to be doing that. We don't have a country like in some, like what is it in Saudi? They don't do that whole, you know, we put naked people on our televisions just because it's just what we do here. Like, they don't do that. They don't promote people not being married. Even in, like, they censor this. Same thing in China. They don't, certain shit they just don't promote because they know it's going to have a direct effect on their country if they allow the culture to be accepting of it. So therefore, certain types of material that don't promote heterosexual families, they don't allow it systemically. Even if it does happen, the government isn't supporting it. So this is why I feel like it's one thing to state the problem, sure, but you have to get down to who's going to make decisions that's going to impact that problem. Because if you leave that out, it's just a circular conversation that people can have from here to doomsday.
So this is the thing. I agree with you to some degrees, but I disagree with you on a lot. If people are talking to him about white supremacy, and the issue is white supremacy's effect on Black people, historical context is that white supremacy has not hindered Black people. For real, for real. Hey, Misty Blue, now we're going to be honest for a moment. During Jim Crow, during segregation, during lynching, right? That is visible, viable, actionable white supremacy. Black families were at an all-time high. Black families is who funded the civil rights movement. Dr. King was married. Malcolm X was married. The lawyers that wrote the drafts to get it to government, the people that fought for us as a whole, these were married people because marriages create community. Now, in 68, when Dr. King and Malcolm X were assassinated, in my opinion, there was a fear in the community. And then we also had the Blaxploitation era. And then we also had the crack era, right? But during the worst times for Black people in this country, it was the Black family that tied us. It was the Black family that binded us. And it was the Black family that helped us to overcome. So when someone is saying to him, hey, white supremacy is what's holding me back, I feel that every single Black person, every single white person, every single Spanish person, anybody that knows the history of the United States of America knows Black people are stronger than white supremacy. Just somewhere between 1968 and today, we have lost the importance of education. We have lost the importance of family because pimp culture was put to the forefront, because Black people were labeled as super predators by the Democratic Party, because Ronald Reagan pushed the narrative of a welfare queen and it wasn't even a Black woman. It was someone that was white or racially ambiguous. Let me say that, racially ambiguous. So it was never us. And Black people have given up the fight. Black people don't got no fight in them. Black people are being victims. Black people are being lazy. Black people are willing to pass the buck of blame onto anybody. But what did Dr. King say to us? Dr. King said, each one teach one, each one reach one. He didn't say that the each one teach one and each one reach one had to be Black. No, he did not, because it was white people that actually helped Dr. King to envision his dream. See, a lot of people forget during the civil rights movement because nobody knows the history. Black people were sitting in offices with presidents. There was Black people in Congress and the Senate. Black people were lawyers. They were authors. They were making sure our agenda was clear and concise and able to be enunciated, communicated, and heard to affect change. What we got right now, Cardi B, I don't cook, I don't clean, I got that wet. Talking to Democratic candidates telling you that you're not Black if you don't vote Democratic. That can't be right. Right. Dr. Still say it again. Dr. King's dream involved all races. And as a Black person, I am fundamentally offended when Black people piss in the face of all that Dr. King had worked it for, of all that Malcolm X had worked it for. Do y'all understand? Malcolm X was assassinated because he ventured away from Elijah Muhammad and the NOI and their bigotry and racism against white people from when he made his pilgrimage to Mecca. That's why he was assassinated. So what are we talking about right now? Anytime there's a voice speaking to all people, and I will also argue that Charlie Kirk has been very effective in the African-American community, because if you look at the increase of Black conservative Republicans from 2012 to 2025, it's a significant incline. And a lot of that has to do with Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, Brandon Tatum, Lexus. You're not talking to yourself, Bad Duck, and all of that. So there is a necessity for voices like Charlie Kirk, because when you're emotional and you're invested is when you listen the best. And just like that Black person said that spoke in front of that council, y'all were born Black. You weren't born Democrat. Y'all were born white. You weren't born Republican. You weren't born with hate. You were born to be a free thinker. God himself, God, gave you the free will that if you decided you didn't want to love him and you wanted to love his enemy, you could. But we limit ourselves to boxes? How? Go ahead, Lola.
I'll say, well, to the point that you started speaking to first about white supremacy, I would always err on the side of first asking for the definition of that in your own words, so that I can understand exactly how to address it, right? But in general, right, if somebody commits a crime where there's a law system, right, and they now have to go through the system because of their crime that they had a choice in making, right? That's not white supremacy, because every country has laws and not every country is white or white based. So I can't even entertain people that do those sorts of things and then complain about white supremacy. But what I can do is see people who have had experiences that directly show, let's say, prejudice that affects people's lives in real time. Like if you're applying for a job and you know you got the job, but then when they seen you and realize that your name real white but your face real black, and then they say, oh no, the job is no longer available, that's impacting people's lives for real. If you buy land and then, or try to buy land, and then somebody tells you, oh no, we don't sell to anybody but Koreans here in America, now you got a real issue that's affecting people in real time. Like stuff like that from people who don't have problems in the system, like forcing themselves into a system. I can entertain the conversation, not to say who's right or wrong, but I can entertain it better from someone who's saying, hey, there's a prejudice, but it's affecting people in this way, and this is the outcome. I can entertain that conversation. I think there's merit to that conversation, because for instance, if I'm a surgeon and I don't do my best to revive people because I got a bias against a certain type of person, right? That's a problem. You see what I'm saying? One can get sued. 2, the hospital. 3, somebody's life is on the line. So my bias has a real world effect, especially if somebody can say, hey, we see you got a pattern here, Dr. Lola. Like that prejudice has a real world effect. So we can talk about where that is, why that is, how we can deal with that, and what that ultimately might look like in a world where people got a right to feel how they want to feel. You see what I'm saying?
So let me ask
go ahead.
Let me ask you a question real quick, right? Because I hear where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But in all the time that we have been free, right?
Okay.
Black dollars are very much able to float within Black communities, true or false?
It's able to float within the Black community to a degree. I'm gonna say to a degree,
right?
We don't mass produce a whole lot of regular stuff. We don't own like whole industry. So
that's where I'm walk with me, because I'm taking you somewhere with this. Mm-hmm. So we don't own. Anymore. We live in a land that we built, and we don't own.
We used to.
Right. Used to. Past tense. We used to, while white supremacy was at its peak, where they were burning down our churches and lynching our children in front of our homes. So you mean to tell me the perception of inclusion made Black people stop owning? Yeah. See, this is the problem in the Black community. Mm-hmm. We have a ton of Black doctors, we have a ton of Black nurses, we have a ton of Black machinists, engineers, scientists, and some more. So if white supremacy is the issue, allegedly, the Jewish community is insulated, right? Because they know they're victims of eugenics and white supremacy. So they said, oh, you never gonna get us caught up like that again. So we're gonna interact with everybody, but we're gonna make sure that our community is okay. What do Black people spend their money on?
Right today, external goods.
Right, weed coming from Mexico. They making the Mexicans rich. Louis Vuitton, Prada, Gucci, Balenciaga. I can't name you one black fashion designer. Because FUBU quit. Baby Fat quit. Fat Farm quit. So black people don't even own clothing. Shout out to all the black farmers that are surviving the ICE exodus, because you never got any fundings or grants, but you're not, you know what I'm saying, belly aching about how white supremacy did you bad. You just out here doing what the hell you got to do to get the chickens fed and the land tilled. Appreciate that severely. Right, spending money on drugs, buying money to go to concerts and get stampeded on, like traveling places we can't afford to go, having cars we can't afford to have, living outside of our means. Credit scores are in the trash. So is it really white supremacy, or is it that black people just quit?
No, I'll say this. As you know, two things can be true at the same time. One of the last things Martin Luther King talked about was the Homestead Act, and how he was saying that, you know, for black people, they're not being treated fairly, whereas white people are being given a head start over top of qualified black people, and it's having a real world effect on our ability to spend within our own community. And this is during a time when, well, it was starting to decline because, again, integration. But like with the Jewish community, they don't believe in integration to a large degree. They integrate, but not to a large degree, because they do understand when you integrate, you have to integrate your dollars. And when you disperse your dollars, you no longer are a community. You're part of something else. And so black people going into the burning house that MLK talked about, that he felt like he led us into, okay, a lot of black people didn't support Martin Luther King's movement. Like, I learned that through my grandparents. A lot of people did not. So what happened with Martin Luther King was he was instrumental in having a good premise, but the issue was he wasn't open-minded enough to see, let's say, Malcolm's side, to say, if you integrate, now we're going to have a different problem and we're not going to be able to recover from that. But his issue was he want his people to have access to wealth. And that wasn't the way to do it, because, like you said, at some point we were wealthy. We were landowners. However, there has been a history of laws that have been made, acts that have been passed that have literally stripped black people of land ownership when they were owning the land, to the point where now they left the community and the land went back to the banks, because that's who, you know, owned it all along. And basically, it's unfair. It's just like, it was an unfair culture when it comes to ownership of land that leads to ownership of industry, that leads to ownership of homes, that leads to families. You can't have a family if you can't provide for them. So I do understand that right now we are a consumer base. That's it. That's it. We consumer based. We're not a producer based. And so is a problem. But that's one problem of many that is contributing to the whole. It's not like that's the only thing, because there are some of us, like you said, that are farmers, that have businesses that do buy within the black community, but to a large degree, no, that's not the case. But we got other issues stacked on top of that, like a lot.
Right, but this is the thing. There's a lot of white people in America that have that same issue too. I've been telling people a long time, it's not a race issue, because race is a social construct. It's a class issue, and they distract the masses from the class issue by making it about race, because race is emotionally driven, where class is driven by capital gains and losses. But here's the thing. The black community, since we have been put into bondage here, because I'm going to tell you the truth, stone cold truth. I don't believe that black people in America are from Africa. I believe black people in America is from right here in America. We about as American as it can get. You ever looked at a Native American map to see how many different tribes covered these contiguous United States of America? You're not from Africa, black people. Dear black people, stay woke. You are Native American. You are Taino. You are from here. This is your home. But the issue in the black community is hypocrisy and the need for white validation. Everything that black people do is for white validation. Well, look at what black people do. Look at what white people do. And you ain't going to Congress trying to pass a law, trying to push a policy, trying to fund a political action committee. So why are y'all always talking about these stats that don't matter? Because you want to be white. Because men, when you denigrate your woman, you compare them to the white woman, Spanish woman. Because women, when you denigrate your men, you compare them to the white man, to the Asian man, to the Spanish man. Black girl wants an Asian man. What are we talking about for real? But y'all don't want me to really take you back to the 70s, because all people remember from the 70s is black exploitation, because that was a heavily pushed issue. But you know what was also heavily pushed? Black pride and black power. And it should never be the situation where putting Huey P. Newton in jail and the rest of the Panthers in jail was supposed to stop that organization. So it's a lack of organization skills as well. Let me be quiet though, because y'all not ready to be woken for real. Y'all fake woke. You know, like little kids when they, and I'm not talking about you, local, I'm talking about the audience. You know, little kids when they wake up from that for real, and you think they really woke, but they not, because as soon as they go sit on the potty, they go right their ass right back to sleep. See, that moment from when they walk to the bed to when they walk to the bathroom is fake woke. That's where the hell a lot of y'all are. And twilight sleep, and you're not really looking at the biggest picture. People give y'all a plate, put it in front of you, and that's what you dissect. Whenever somebody tells you one thing, you don't believe that. Believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. Just like when they passed those laws in the Supreme Court. Y'all focused on Roe v. Wade because all y'all want to be whores and running out here having all the abortions, apparently. You know what I didn't hear nobody talk about at that time? What was that? The changes to Miranda and the other 10 laws that they had made you know, judgments on and changed.
Yeah, I didn't hear nothing about that. Everything was women laying in the street without their shirts on, with blood around their vaginas. Just, they was looking crazy. I was like, yo, all you gotta do is just not get pregnant. Like, damn, yo, shut up. And don't get me wrong, I care about people's health, but a lot of times I feel like people just bitch made, like, seriously. I wanted to say something to the white supremacy piece, right? And this isn't to say that white supremacy is a real thing, right? But it can be perceived that way. You had mentioned about Joe Biden when he was, I think, on his second term, and he had made the statement, "You're not black if you don't vote for me or for Democrats," or something like that. When he said that, right, my first visceral reaction was, the only reason why you can say that and not have to issue an apology like you would have if you would have replaced the word black with small hat, like, it's because of your power, and not your personal power, but the power that comes with your skin and your position. That's two different sets of power. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not saying what small hats is, but every time I hear somebody say, "I don't care what they look like, they ain't white," and I'm like, okay, so that's what we doing. Okay, so that's why they feel like they can't spend their money with nobody but themselves, because truth be told, okay, I got you. So let's just put it into context. Certain people get away with certain things because of the system that allows it, not so much just because of how people feel. Me, I know it's certain things I can't say, because if you do, like, you know, You free to say what you want to say, but you're not free from consequence. Real power is being able to hold people accountable and put them through consequences when they get out of line, which is not something that we can do, even if we in the right at this point in time. So it does, even though white supremacy is not an actual real thing, right? It does tend to have influence in circumstances like that, where somebody of his color can turn around and tell me I'm not black because I'm not me, because I don't vote a certain way. Like, this is the most asinine thing I've heard in a long time. And I remember my thoughts when he said that. Like, yo, who the fuck is you? Yo, like, you really said that shit and think somebody about to vote for you? Somehow somebody did. But that's what I mean by the perception.
Right. So now let me give you some pushback, because I think it's about the lack of power and self-respect in our own communities.
Gotcha.
Like, Joe Biden said he didn't think that Black children should be bused to school. Mm-hmm. Joe Biden was one pivotal person in the crime super bill of 94. Mm-hmm. He said that Black people were super predators. Mm-hmm. So was I necessarily shocked and alarmed when he said, you're not Black if you don't vote for me? Absolutely not. But the thing of it is, Black people lack education as a whole, and Black people are not very much aware of politics. So and that has nothing to do with white supremacy. Mm-hmm. Because we all have an individual ability to be autodidacts and self-educate, especially when it comes to like MSNBC, C-SPAN. They literally broadcast from Congress, from the Senate floor, nonstop, but Black people not watching. Mm-hmm. So, and then like that, I don't think I know, because I've watched it happen. Mm-hmm. Black people wait for media to give them buzzwords, and then they run with that. Like that big, beautiful bill. The big, beautiful bill literally says none of the things that people have been out here saying that it says. But because they feel like they're so impacted by it, they didn't go read it. They didn't write to their congressman. They didn't write to their House representative. Mm-hmm. They didn't even watch it when it was being voted on. It's, oh, he's just racist and he's doing things to us. And this is another thing. I'm sick of Black people that every time everybody does something, they're racist. Even Austin Metcalf. When Carmelo Anthony deleted that young man, he's the racist. He's dead. And Black people was out here like, nah, he was a racist and he deserved to die. Y'all think this is a movie? Y'all think y'all in a time to kill? Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell. Y'all know Samuel Jackson is just an actor, right? You know he was playing a role, right? Because here's the dangerous.
You already know, you kind of felt it when he said that too, young. Like, them people did some craziness to that little girl. Like, I was like, yeah, I understand. Like,
I did understand, and I did like, you know, in the end when Matthew McConaughey was like, picture, blah, 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 blah. Now imagine she was white. I mean, that is true to a degree, but what's a bigger truth is when things like what happened in Time to Kill happen, that's clear-cut racism, that's clear-cut white supremacy. When you make everybody sneezing or saying something that doesn't make you feel comfortable or you don't like, when you make everything racist, when racist things happen, it becomes a misnomer. Yeah. It becomes Black fatigue. It becomes nobody gives a shit. That's what it becomes. And again, Charlie Kirk, I could see how he was inflammatory. And I could see how people didn't like it. But guess what, Black people? He didn't celebrate Juneteenth. Is Juneteenth still a federal fucking holiday? Did you get paid on June 19th? Did you get a day off of work? Because I did.
Yeah, I did.
So what are y'all tripping that he didn't feel to celebrate it? it doesn't impact him.
Now, okay, so I'll say this, right? I'll say this, okay. Our grandparents and great grandparents had some really tough stomachs, right? And I think that in part helped them through times where like it was kind of dangerous to be Black, honestly. But then too, being isolated in your own community was a barrier to a degree, because keep in mind, Rosewood, Greenwood, all these different towns that went up in flakes, all because of somebody's, accusation about a Black man touching somebody. Like it wasn't the barrier we needed. Like if we had barriers like we got right now, I think we would have been straight in segregation. Truly, I do. I don't think like I think we would have been okay in terms of our own community being what it could have been. You see what I'm saying? But to say, for instance, like something like I've seen white people say stuff like Black people already got reparations because Obama was elected president, right? I've heard them say stuff like that. And that's very insensitive, because reparations is not based on slavery. It was based on laws that created illegal circumstances when it comes to, like you said, land ownership, stuff like that. That's what that was based on, not about slavery. Slavery was very legal and nobody owes anybody because of slavery. So when people say stuff like that, right, they say it out of a sense of ignorance, and people who are not emotionally developed, they respond to that emotionally versus saying like some other communities like, oh, fuck you, pay me. Like that's the difference. And see, I feel like, we could take a page out of the small hat community's book and say, while we shouldn't shun, let's say, others out in terms of all business, for the most part, we have to develop, let's say, habits that is structurally about us. But the one thing they got that we don't got is they are in unison, not simply because of their ethnicity. They're in unison because they share the same religion, in that their religion, as far as they're concerned, is premised on their ethnicity. So that is a double binding effect that they have that most people just generally don't have. Most groups, like, they're not binded per se based around a religion. They might be binded based on their ideology, but not necessarily like a religion in that sense. So they have that, and that's a good thing. I'm not saying it's not, but see, with us, my father always said, like, see what other people do and take the good out of that and leave the rest. You see what I'm saying? And I think we can do that. But I think, for instance, in our own communities, we have to hold each other accountable in ways that we can. I can't put nobody in jail. I can't stop nobody from talking. I can't stop Sexy Red from the bullshit she doing. But I do not have to have her on my playlist. I do not have to engage with certain people as if they are not destroying my community by the minute. Like, I don't have to do that. I don't have to support certain events that support certain things that are towards the degradation of the family. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to do that. You just don't. I can put my money and my efforts into things that do support my community, that do support ideals, that support things that create better communities. I can do that. But if I don't want to do nothing, but I want something to be better, that's essentially the welfare queen mentality. I want to be benefited for doing quite literally nothing. And that's why it's certain things online that I don't talk about, because I know that I'm not the right person. I'm not the right message for that. You see what I'm saying? I support it.
Who told you that you wasn't?
No, it's not that nobody told me, but I feel like there's just certain things, right, that I can speak to, right? But I would have to be given, I would have to be speaking to it from a position of someone who's telling someone, hey, this is not the right thing to do, right? Versus me telling somebody, okay, well, this is what I did, so therefore you should do what I did. So that's why I say I can support, for instance, Charlie Kirk and his campaign to create the family, even if it's Christian or not. But I can support that while also saying, hey, there's certain things I've done that was not in alignment with that, but I see that that is the correct way to do things. And I'm not going to, let's say, add to it in a negative way now. You see what I'm saying? I can do that, but I have to acknowledge that about myself first, right? And then say I want better and actually do better, meaning put my money where my mouth is.
This is true, but I want to go back to the reparations topic for a moment, right? Reparations is based off of 40 acres and a mule. 40 acres and a mule is a very short-lived promise, right? Because 40 acres and a mule symbolizes the unfulfilled promise by the U.S. government to provide land and resources to formerly enslaved African Americans after the Civil War to foster economic independence. But that wasn't actually offered by a sitting president. It was offered by Union General William Teshmesh Sherman, and he issued a special field order 15 in 1865, which redistributed confiscated land to free slaves in 40-acre plots, with the addition of mules to help cultivate it. But that initiative was abruptly canceled by President Andrew Johnson, who returned the land to its original owners, resulting in a lasting symbol of broken promises and a foundation for the black-white wealth gap. And if I'm not mistaken, Andrew Jackson was a Democrat.
From what I heard, well, no, I heard that too, but I was made aware that reparations, at least the argument now, is not solely based on that right there. Don't get me wrong, that is a history, but like the argument is not about slavery. A lot of people think, well, it's about repaying people for their work and being slaves. And that's just not the deal to say, well, you know, you got your reparations for slavery because such and such happened. It's like, no, slavery is not something you get reparations from. That's the legality of it has nothing to do with reparations. Even if we're talking about what happened as subsequently to slavery, I'm not taking that out. That's not what Black people are saying happened to them that they feel the government was in error for, because you can't take it past, was it 1860 something, 1865 something.
Right, but this is the thing. Black people are constantly comparing reparations to the reparations that Holocaust survivors got, right? Holocaust survivors, you know, their plight was a very horrific one, as was slavery, right? How do I say this nicely? Well, it doesn't even matter because I'm already labeled a coon because, you know, I don't see that Charlie Kirk is racist. He's not racist to me. And maybe it's because I'm from New York. And, you know, in New York, we are exposed to all the different races. So it's not that serious. Like, you know, we have real conversations. People from New York do all the time, everywhere we go. But the Holocaust did not hold Jewish people back, right? They didn't let that be the linchpin that stagnated their community. L'chaim. Black people, however, have let this reparation conversation be the linchpin that is stopping forward progress within the community. Now, I believe it was in 23 or 24. There were 3 living survivors from the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre. They were fighting for reparations. Guess who told them no? Democratic President Joe Biden said hell no.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And all of these Black people, these good Black folks talking about white supremacy. Do you know, to this day, I don't hear no Black people talking about those 3 survivors denied their reparations. So you got the Tariq Nasheeds out there, the Yvette Carnells out there, the Meachies and all of this and all of that. Where was y'all's coverage? Where was y'all antenna when you could have used that case as foundational case law for reparations for Black people impacted by slavery? Why was y'all not using your large platforms to spread that message? To get all the people down there, hands up, don't breathe, or don't shoot, whatever. Y'all didn't show up for Black people when it mattered. But now y'all full of fake outrage on social media because Charlie Kirk's birthday is a day of remembrance. It's not even a federal fucking holiday. What are we talking about? See, the problem with black people be focused on everything the fuck else except for what the fuck matters. And always comparing themselves to other communities. I don't give a fuck about what happened. I don't give a fuck about slavery. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. Because we are several centuries removed. Talk to me about today. Talk to me about how y'all raising your children. Talk to me about what you teaching your children about the history of us. Talk to me about how you celebrating Juneteenth. Talk to me about how you not having every time Dick and Harry slide through your house. Why? Tell me how your children don't think that every nigga that comes through your door is their Uncle Daddy. Talk to me about how your kids don't think that every chick they see you with on a weekend when you playing Weekend Warrior is their titi mama. Talk to me about how we going to improve the community. Stop talking to me about people that's not in the community according to y'all, because I'm part of the human community, even though my skin is brown. But according to y'all that want to call people that are thinking people, critical thinkers, expansive 3D thinkers, coons and shit like that, I want y'all to tell me something we is doing for black people. Besides throwing out racism and black tears. I'll wait. Go ahead, Lo.
So I first say that the issue that I had, for instance, with the reparations hypocrisy, right, was that when Joe Biden said what he said, right, that seemed to win over, right? But when the governor of Maryland said that he wasn't going to focus, he just said he wasn't going to focus on it primarily, right? Most people in Maryland was like, yo, he's a coon. Don't vote for him again. Make sure we get his ass out of there. And I'm saying that the same energy should have been given to Joe Biden for saying the same thing. In addition to, you ain't black if you ain't voting for me. Like, nigga, you got some audacity. I can't get over that shit. I'm sorry. Like the same energy should have been given because it is the same. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not here to debate because I see some of the comments. I'm not here to debate what reparations should be because truly, I feel like the black people that are owed reparations are the ones who lost their property due to them bombs that was dropped on them. Okay, those cities that were burned and those people had to leave property that they paid for because they were black, and this was like sanctioned by the government. Like those people need their land back. Those people were making change. Those people had generational wealth. Those people are the ones that are owed something. Whether you want to call it reparations or not, reparations is to be repaired. People are getting reparations now for stuff that happened probably last year. Like, it happens, but I don't think that it's a matter of discussing, well, slavery, because I hate when people keep going back to slavery. Like that doesn't have anything to do with now. Right now, the impact is not because of slavery. If we're going to say we're impacted for the reasons that we're discussing right now. The impact of abortion, the impact of social services, the impact of not being able to retire until you're 100,003. Like the impact of a lot of stuff. But this is what I feel like, if we're going to talk to what's causing these issues, we have to be honest about that in full, not just simply like to state, well, who's doing messy stuff. It's like, well, how are they able to do the messy stuff? First of all, like let's holistically address the problem. And I think the first problem that as a people we need to deal with is recognizing what concerns us and what don't. I'm not saying I think that, you know, anybody should pass away and gun violence, for instance, is not a thing. It is a thing, but our gun violence problem is not the same gun violence problem as other communities. It's just not. So we might have to deal with our community differently when it comes to the stuff we do and regulation on our end. But it's like, you know, I mean, two things can be true. Like I don't agree that with certain things Charlie said in reference to gun violence, right? I feel like it was some things that was like misconstrued and left out. But at the end of the day, what's important for me and my community is what we got going on that contributes to why young people feel the need to just go out there indiscriminately and doing crazy shit to our people. That's our number one issue. Now, maybe number two might be mass, shooters in events in Omaha. I ain't never going to no mass event in no place like that because, frankly, I'm scared. But I still got to deal with my own people. And while we be doing crazy shit in our own communities, okay, like that is my problem right now. So, for instance, in Maryland, they make it weird as though when the one in YNs commit a crime, and I mean a heinous crime, they don't do no time. They don't even want to lock them up. Shit like that. That's my problem right there. Now, governor of Maryland, his ass need to be hung up for that shit. Like, people are out here dying for real, and you up here more worried about putting people in jail because they young. How about you pull their fucking parents up here and deal with that shit? How about you make sure that if people are gonna sit and get benefits while their child is out late night committing crimes, you cut that shit the fuck off? How about you deal with that since you want to help the community so bad? No, you up here making it worse. So that's my problem. I'm a Maryland resident. That's my problem, not Charlie Kirk's opinion and the day of remembrance. I hope they remember his ass. I'm sure we ain't never gonna forget him. But at the end of the day, that's where we at.
But this is the thing, right? I get all of that and I understand. But all of this talking accomplishes nothing, right? It's like we have a never-ending therapy session. Black people. Oh, now she fell off. She'll be back. But ultimately, Black people have a never-ending therapy session. But the only thing is, nobody ever listens to anybody else. It's not a situation or a conversation where Black people are listening to one another. All right, I'm going to put this one up here while it's just me. Where Black people are listening to one another, where Black people are literally trying to grow the community and fix the issues. While in my tenure on social media, I have seen so many lawyers, doctors, people with money import value. So do you know, Black community, how to utilize your resources? The funny about it all is you can sit there and deal with issues like governors not wanting to lock up heinous criminals and the fight for reparations for those who are owed, the problem with households and everything else, while petitioning the government, the Supreme Court, and everything else for the policies that you want. While going to Capitol Hill and being the whip. Like, it's very easy to fund a political action committee, to get it in front of a congressman or a senator, for them to push it on the Hill. Mm-hmm. So what exactly is it that the Black community is doing to get their agendas pushed? I'm just saying real quick, like, this is what my issue is. Sure, cool. You know what I'm saying? Kitchen table talk your shit to one another, call your friends on the phone and talk all of that shit. Mm-hmm. But being on social media and expressing these ideals, these ideologies, y'all are putting it in the ether. If it's private, why y'all making it public? Shout out to my husband. Y'all making Black issues and Black business a very public endeavor without any follow-up or follow-through. And newsflash, shout out to Mr. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic did a video that was really good. Do you know Black people are supposed to be permanent underclass by 2050? That's 25 years. Fuck all of this bullshit and spreading attention where it doesn't belong. What the fuck is Black people gonna do for Black people? I don't give a damn. We all gonna disagree about a whole multitude of things until Jesus come back. Or did y'all forget about the Tower of Babel? So what exactly are black people. Do it for black people. I don't want nobody talking to me at all about nobody racist. Because there's nothing more racist than the level of self-hate and dissemination and denigration and disparaging remarks that we put out here about ourselves.
Or the images that we put out.
Yeah.
The actual images that we put out. Fuck the remarks. If we was just talking, I think we might have a chance, but we putting out whole videos. Yeah.
Whole videos and whole panels for 12 hours, just tearing each other down. And they say, well, you can't say that because you're white.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who is living in reality? That's why I put this checker board up here. So y'all can understand. As above, so below.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people will sit there and say, that's Illuminati. That's in the Bible, fools.
Why would they say that?
They always, every time I say that, people are like, that's Illuminati. And I'll be like, dang. So we know who don't say their nightly prayers.
They tell them on themselves. They you know what? Okay. So to your question of what are we?
Wait, hold on. Let me tell the slow people what it is, because you know because you say your prayers and you know you ain't no heathen. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, as we forgive those who trespass against us, as above heaven, earth, as above, so below.
Mm-hmm.
Look at multiple translations and you go ahead, Lola.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what that. Well, you know, the English is translating, but that's exactly what that means. Like in the language, as it is above, as it be below, and we say in heaven and then in earth. Like these words are there. Like I don't understand why everybody's talking, but nobody's reading. I'll say accountability starts with self, right? Not so much with like someone else. So for instance, with the lady the video that was being critiqued by the guy or whatever, her first and only problem is that she's focused on her focus is in the wrong place. Like she's talking about her enemy, whereas your first enemy is the enemy within, not the enemy without. So if you're with enemy within is causing you to do things that creates not only a problem for you personally, but a problem for your whole community. The enemy can never be on the out. Even if the enemy is on the outside, you will always be subject to the enemy on the inside, no matter what. And this really is what I think people like Charlie Kirk is highlighting, that sure, there's racist people out there, but your problem internally is just as much a problem as these people so-called on the outside. And it is true, even if we don't like how he said it, that is true. And I feel like part of changing that is doing stuff like, if you're not married, don't talk down on marriage. If you are married, don't be out here getting divorced for petty ass reasons and shit, fucking up these kids' lives that didn't ask to be here. You make the fucking sacrifice. Seriously, start. Even if we haven't been doing that shit, start doing better shit now. How about you start doing that? How about if you want to support your community, start with your own family. Start there. If you have the family, start with trying to create a family business. Like it don't have to be big; it could be small. But don't despise small beginnings, and that's really where we're at. We got to start real small. But it's like, it's not hard. It's just, do you have the will to do it? Do you feel a benefit to do it? Now, honestly, I know there's some people that don't feel like it's a benefit to me to do right a certain way and deprive myself of my desires so that my community won't be looked at. Some females feel like, I just want to twerk because I just like twerking. And forget the fact that people are going to stop allowing black people in their restaurants when I decide to twerk. Forget all of that. I just feel like twerking. That's the most selfish, narcissistic shit in the fucking world. My thing is, it's a time and place for everything. Nobody's saying you can't do your due, but understand everything you do is impacting somebody else in some way, shape, form, or fashion. For instance, if you go out and you wanna be fighting and shit like that, and now we got cameras everywhere, you making it hard for everybody else that shows up that look like you. Because what Nick Fuentes said, to some degree, even though he was being an asshole, is true. That people associate behaviors with things they can see that look alike. If every time they see somebody that look like you, 9 out of 10 of them doing some bullshit, they're just going to assume the last one is on the same bullshit. That's natural. So my thing is, I've heard too many people say, I don't represent the Black community. Yes, you do. Even people who are not part of us that look like us represent us. So yes, you do. Everything you do in your house, even down to the bullshit, to some degree is going to leak out. And I remember talking, I've been saying this for years, that for instance, with parents, you might feel like how you parent your child was your personal business, right? That nobody can tell you nothing. However, how you parent your child is going to affect how they deal with other children that's been parented differently. And when that interaction happens and some craziness go down because you feel like fuck the world, you do what you want to do, now you should having to show up at the school and now court. You see how your personal business now is becoming part of community problems? Like, this happens, and we need to stop thinking that, hey, this is all about me. Sure, there is an element of you that's an individual. You are not the group, but at the same time, you are the group. And I think if we start leading our own campaigns to recorrect some of this thinking within our community, things will begin to change. And maybe that 2050, something about that, were we going to be a permanent underclass?
Oh yeah, underclass 2050. Yeah,
it's 2025. In 25 years, that's enough time. That's enough time for us to stop some of the bleeding, some of it. Like right now, the conversations of, let's say, relationships is a big thing, like really big right now. The one thing we should take away from this is, no matter how much you hate men or hate 304s, we all we got. That's the one thing you need to understand. And if you don't want to have no children, you see what I'm saying? Because you out of the game, don't create no further problems. You see what I'm saying? If you know that, don't create kids you don't want. If you know that, like, don't do that. If you're the type of female you want to live your best life on the weekends, go get birth control. Go pay for that. Don't expect the state to pay for that.
No. Don't get birth control because you that be out here just freely bucking. Y'all don't keep good time. I'm gonna need y'all to go get a VCF, okay? 15 minutes before it's popping off, you just fold it up into a little square, shove it up your twat, pop it up your twat. It's gonna kill all the sperms, and you don't have to worry about being nobody's baby mama.
That part. Since you hate that shit so much, and these niggas ain't shit, act like these niggas ain't shit. Stop letting them bust up in. Act like these niggas ain't shit, and make sure that if a nigga in your face, it's because he paid the good price for it to be in your face. And I don't mean money, okay? Because any dude can throw money at a whore. So it's like, act like if you really feel like niggas don't respect black women, right? Don't put yourself in positions to be disrespected, walking late night by yourself in the middle of South Central, in downtown Montego Bay, whatever you at.
Put your titties out and your booty shorts on.
Like, if you really feel like black men ain't shit, stop doing dumbass shit like that. For real. Start with the enemy on the inside. How about you do that? That will help us a lot. A whole lot. I know it'll help me.
Listen, I done told y'all stop fucking. Y'all got roses, rabbits, horses, and centipedes, and some more. So needing to and your fingers. You got your fingers. I'm not gonna tell you to be a lesbian. There was a silly dizzy chick out here telling y'all to eat each other's cooters. I'm not stupid. And no woman that likes no penis wanna eat no coochie. So I'm not gonna tell you that. What I'm gonna tell you is start pleasuring yourself. But oh wait, like 80% of y'all don't have no orgasm, no way. So what exactly are you having sex for? You're not getting commitment. You're not getting support for these children. You're not getting any pleasure. You ain't getting no money because y'all say all these dudes just broke. So what you having sex for? I wait.
Yeah, right, that part. If 80% of them is 50K and less and broke and don't have nothing, I don't understand what y'all doing and stuff like that. Like, I really don't. Like, come on now. Like, if you really feel that way, act like it and stand on 10 with that shit. Cause I'm be honest with you, like, I don't see it. Like, okay, so what I don't usually be in a friend group that be talking craziness like that. However, when I'm online, this is where I be seeing people talking like that. And when you get into their personal life a little bit, you see that they don't really believe the shit that's coming out of their mouth. And honestly, that's the worst part of our community, that we have each other. We got leaders, quote unquote leaders, that say things, right, that sound nice, and they don't believe shit that's coming out their own mouth. That's a detriment to our community, for real. I think, for instance, Umar with the school, I think that was a good think tank, right? I think that was a good thing to start, and people have done that. But the fact that he reneged so hard and showed us that he was just a scammer the whole time, like, that hurt us. That set us back, in my opinion, because now the next person that want to do something like that, you know how hard it's going to be for them to convince people to give them money fucking around with Umar?
Nope. People knew he wasn't sitting on nothing year 2.
She said year 2.
Black people like to get hoodwinked and bamboozled. Child, please. I can't listen. At the end of the day, I'm not going to shame y'all because I don't care enough to do so. We just two friends here doing our little fake bitch investigations and letting you know the Black community is on notice. Y'all acting like some fake bitches. You got to do better. Lola, give your final thoughts, because we've been up here for a minute. We about to go to bed. We got things to do.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I got to get up in the morning. So
we could sit here all night with y'all, but
right. I'll say this, right, because you had mentioned about on another panel the accusation of being a coon, right? I think it goes to the point that you said that if you call everything that you don't agree with someone being a coon, then nobody is a coon, right? And and when I expressed to you over the phone earlier that there are some people that, by, let's say, original definition of maybe what that originally meant, it makes sense, right? But nobody's talking about that for real. Everybody's calling everyone a coon that just don't agree with them. And so
that's because these ignorant ass niggas don't know how powerful coons was. Listen here, bitches.
That part. They
proud Coon Nation. Stand up, Coon Nation.
Why is you doing that? See, she need her butt beat. She had that queued up, ready to go.
And did. I mean it. Whenever we talk about coons, matter of fact, I'm about to edit our layout. Whenever we talk about coons, you bitch niggas, I'm gonna be the coon for you, and I'm gonna educate y'all ignorant ass niggas so that y'all can know what the hell it is you talking about when you talking about somebody is a coon. Coons were a problem.
They were, yeah.
They were a problem, so much so that they had to turn it into a caricature. Are y'all simple, stupid, or slow, or which one? Y'all just be saying words because somebody else told it to you. God, Lola, go ahead, finish.
No,
I'll get the cutting up in here. I
know. But what I'll say is, I don't like that, and I feel like it's small stuff like that creates the detriment to the community, because now we can't even have cohesive conversations where we come together and decide on our own what's best for us, because we're so worried about making sure who's a coon and who's not a coon. How about we just listen to what we're saying and talk about what's best for us as a unit versus who's a Democrat versus Republican. Honestly, when I see people starting to talk like that, right, I tune out, because that tells me you're not really for unifying. Like, I could care less about what you call yourself. Like, what are you bringing to this conversation? What are you leaving this world as? Are you leaving this world as part of the solution or the problem? So I think, for all intents and purposes, sure, the world is talking about this shooter and the issue of mass shooters in crowds and stuff like that, and that's a problem. But for our people, we typically have different types of problems and shooters. So if we're gonna be involved in this Charlie Kirk conversation, then okay, let's be involved and talk about what's really wrong with us, because that's the only conversation I see us having as it pertains to Charlie Kirk. When it comes to how he passed away, I'm gonna be honest with you, let the white people deal with that. He one of them. Let them investigate and find out what's happening over there. We don't got shit. That's not shit, but we don't have no power to make that case, make it go away. Nothing. So I listen to it. Don't get me wrong. I listen to like the ballistics like conversation and all of that, but I'm not out here trying to act like I'm the only reason why Candace Owens is involved is because she literally knew this dude in the flesh, not because it got anything to do with her personally, like outside of that, like as a black woman, like no. So it's like I'm okay with that because she his personal friend or whatever, but we don't have nothing to do with this. And our problem ain't even Charlie Kirk. Our problem is really truly what we've already been saying before he said it. That boy, like what, 30 years old? How long we've been talking about? I think you played the documentary like a long time ago about the issues that he mostly was talking about. So it's not like he's saying something new. We've been knowing this, but now that he done said it, okay, cool. Let's talk about our problems. Forget Charlie Kirk. Talk about the problems, and that's where I can feel like we making progress because we at least talking about us and regulating us. But I don't want to go back and forth anymore about like is Charlie Kirk a racist or not. Let's just go with the fact that he is. Now we still got to deal with us. How about that? Like, yeah, he is. And we still got our own problems that we causing, that we contributing to. Even if I can say there's a systemic problem, there's an internal problem with us that we have full control over and that we can solve if we really want to solve. So, you know, I'm not going to say like, Rob, we don't always agree with everything anybody say. But at the end of the day, our focus, where it should be, is clear. And that's not on gloating over nobody's death or overly arguing over what somebody said in sound bites. Like, that's not our purpose. You see what I'm saying? If we on this platform and we have your ear, we should be spreading truth and redirecting the conversation where it should be at, which is if we're talking about Christian values, let's talk about why we're not valuing the very thing we say we represent, right? If we say we Christian, if we say we Muslim, if we say we Jewish, if we say we Sheikh, if we say we anything, why aren't we honoring the traditions that we are espousing? Let's talk about that. Like
if we say we Hebrew Israelites,
right? That part. Like, why aren't we honoring those traditions and those morals? Why? Is it really because we don't believe, or is it because we have too much influence and too much integration? What's the real problem? We can talk about it, but for all intents and purposes, don't be calling people out their names and stuff like that because they differ in opinion from you. Like, I don't even feel comfortable with calling white people racist like openly because that just undercuts my own issues. You see what I'm saying? That I'm not about to, you know what I mean? Like, no, we all right. I'll say this and I'll leave it. I remember the interview that Candace did with Nick Fuentes, and while he was saying some crazy stuff and he was getting his little rocks off, I kind of, even though I don't agree with Candace on everything, I kind of appreciate her level of maturity in the moment to just hear him and not, you know, become over emotional, like, and to say, hey, no, I don't like what he said. I feel like what he said was insensitive and yada, 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 but still be able to say, hey, you're open to that belief. It's nothing wrong with you believing that. I just disagree with you. I appreciate her level of calm in that interview, even though she did come back and clap back at him for some things. I appreciate that interview. I did. And I think we all should take a page out of her book.
She wasn't the first one to do it. I mean, Candace, I love you, girl, or whatever. But we need to take a page out of Jerry Springer book, Geraldo Rivera book, Oprah book, and Ricky Lake book. If you was watching TVs in the 90s, you already know, honey. They had all of them.
Jerry Springer. What? You go ahead, see now. See that Jerry Springer.
Yeah, before Jerry Springer became Ratchet TV, he was serious about journalism, and he did a show with the Triple K's on there.
Oh, he did. I remember that. He did. Yeah. That was a while ago.
That's when he stole ratings from Oprah, and him and Oprah started to have a beef.
Mm-hmm. I remember. I was young, but I remember that episode when it aired too. I was holding my breath. Okay. But he did it, and keep in mind, and he Jewish too, ain't he?
L'chaim.
Okay. He was insulted. I remember that, but he was holding that little mic, and he was like, "You say that again, sir. So what you're really saying? All right, we got a question here." He was not even like removed.
Because the reality, Chelsea, you see how my sister do me, right? She's trying to, all right, we're going to say this little part. The reality is this, like,
He was being funny, though.
people are racist. People are prejudiced. People are fearful. Picture it, Sicily, 1932. You grew up in rural Idaho. You ain't never seen nobody but the 8,000 people that you grew up with. And anything you know about any other nationality, race, or whatever outside of your bubble is what you're fed on social media. So ultimately, I'm calling Black people individually to be the solution. I'm not going to shame you. I'm just going to say, you know, is the messages you're putting out there what you want other races, nationalities, or groups to judge all Black people on? Because I could tell you one thing, even down to when I drag someone for filth, the manner in which I do it, the succinctness and the longevity of receipts, I stand by everything I ever said or did. But when y'all out here making skits like, oh, I only brought one kid a hamburger from McDonald's and I couldn't afford to feed everybody else, what message do you think that sends to the world about the Black community? Y'all niggas is arguing over 99-cent cheeseburgers from McDonald's, like legitimately it's about, well, I'm not responsible for those kids. Bitch, please.
That part, like that part. You're gonna do a whole skit to show people like that, and for what? So people can laugh, or so people can further just like stereotype you. Everybody look like you, the man. People in the neighborhood, like McDonald's of all things, like they trying to get away from the stigma.
McDonald's,
yeah.
Not McDonald's. Not when you got apps on your phone that be like ba da ba ba ba. And y'all got rewards. Like, they know y'all got rewards. Y'all act like y'all eat at McDonald's every day. So we know you got reward. I'm going to shut up. Because there's a lot of things that irritate me about the Black community. And no, I'm not self-hating, because you Black people that do the bullshit that you do on social media irritate me, just like white people speaking on the bullshit are not racist. I'm not a coon because I hate the bullshit that you do, like the chick that went into the restaurant eating the steak with her bare hands like a fucking animal. I should give her grace, and that's a fucking skit. You bitches are delayed and slow.
I don't believe some of
that particular comment was to one person in particular. You know who you are. I'm just not gonna give your name no shine on my platform. But at the end of the day, if me being upset and having disdain in my voice when talking about shit like that makes you think I'm a coon and self-hating, well then guess what? Y'all got me fucked up. On the Bible, on the same Bible that y'all niggas don't read, my right hand on the Bible till the day I die, bitch. It's up and it's stuck with all y'all that act that way. And which one of y'all gonna do something about it? That's what I want to know. What you gonna do about it? You gonna go to your channel and cry? Cry me a river, bitch. I'm Justin Timberlake. I don't give a fuck. It's stupid, foolish fucking shit. And even in the read, and even in talking about shows like this, me and Lola have talked about quite a lot in this show. But in every topic, there was a solution.
Yeah.
Not some bullshit solution from the corners of imagination land, but tangible, actionable items. So all you FBAs, you boulets that call black people tethers, racist, that call black people coons, you're a racist. Stop hiding behind the Bible. Stop saying conservatives are Christian nationalists, because Christian and nationalists together, it's not really a title. You can be a nationalist and be a Christian. Just like you can be a Muslim and be a nationalist and commit a jihad. Allahu Akbar. See, when we get into real conversations, don't nobody want to have them. And I be trying to be calm with these people having these conversations, but then they be like, well, the Confederacy, okay, but at that time, the Democrats were not called Democrats. Well, we're not talking about that time because they're still racist today. What?
If you're gonna call somebody racist, right, call their names. How about that? Like Joe Biden, I would say he's a racist. Yeah, he's a racist. I'm still mad about that 3 strikes and you out comment that he made about black kids. I'm still mad about how black I'm not because I didn't vote for him. You see what I'm saying? And how disrespectful that was to our whole legacy. Like, he is a racist. I don't care what you say. Like, that man has shown through his actions of impacting our whole community that he is a racist. How many people went to jail erroneously over policies that he pushed, knowing the effect it was going to have on people that was undeserving? Don't tell me, oh, somebody's a racist and he's a coon. At the end of the day, call Joe Biden a coon, showing you his nice face while behind the scenes he hates you for real. Right? Let's do that. Put some names on this shit and say what it is. Because me just having a difference of opinion and me and Ross saying, listen, we don't hate our people. We hate what we have become. And we are saying, stop this bullshit. That's it. We ain't saying you intellectually don't have the capability to understand. We not saying that you deficient genetically. We saying, yo, we done devolved into some bullshit. Regardless of why, we got to get the fuck up from out of here. Like, if we want to not be a permanent underclass by 2050, what the hell? So
no, Lola is not saying that. I am saying if you are calling me a coon, something genetically is wrong with you. You are intellectually disabled and delayed. If you ain't never called Joe Biden the racist that he is, but Charlie Kirk chaps your ass, you're delayed. You don't have the mental capacity to have any type of intellectual conversations with anyone, and you should shut up and disengage with any type of interactions with any other human beings anywhere ever. Go ahead, Lola.
Nah, and don't get me wrong, Joe Biden ain't the only one. But if you're gonna call out people for what they have said about black people, make sure it fits the definition of racism, meaning that it has impacted you in some way. How somebody feels is not racism. Okay, like we all have our, I think Sel said something to the order of that the other day about we all have our internal biases, right? But nobody is going to sit and call themselves an open racist, not everybody. So it's like, never mind how anybody feels. What have they done that has impacted you or your community? If you can say, hey, as a result of your attitude, now there's a policy that has 5 of my family members in graves right now. Let's talk about racism. But other than that, stop calling people out their names because you just don't know how to articulate yourself. If you feel like the black community is doing great, we don't need to change, and we don't have no problems and stuff like that, then fine. Like, go find a corner of YouTube where that's okay. But it's really not okay out here in the real world. So nah, I'm not with the coon conversation. Even if somebody is a coon, that don't help our community to just be calling people coons. It just don't. Even
right, because if y'all say a lot of stuff on the internet, y'all real bold on the internet. I wish somebody would ever call me a coon in real life. I promise you, this ain't no real spill. The last time you ever said a C word in your life.
And you know what? That's another problem we have It's too many internet gangsters. They'll sit and want to chastise each other online because there's a barrier here, right? But in real life, when they see somebody doing some fucked up shit, they don't got the nuts to just say in the flesh, hey, what the fuck is you doing? Hey, we don't do that. Hey, you making us look bad. Hey, this ain't the time and place. Hey, that's your kid. Hey, why you leave your children in the car like that? The fuck? I should call the police on you. Like, did nobody want to sit there and deal with shit and say the shit they say online in the flesh? Nobody want to do that because I guess they can't fight. I guess they feel like
they coon.
I don't know. Oh yeah, because they these are the real coons. So
these are the real coons. These is the real mammies. These is the real Toms. These is the real Sambos. You see other children, other people. Let me shut up, man. Go ahead, cause go ahead, Lola. Because it's time for me to go. Cause I'm about to start cussing people out.
Truth be told, if other communities, when they see their own acting up, they pull each other to the side and they let them know, like real talk, like you out of pocket for real. But see, what I don't understand is men will, for instance, men, because they're the leaders, will talk about how bad it is for women to be over sexualized, right? And then they will see things happening in their own families. In their own families. And nobody will say anything because they say, Shorty don't want to listen. She don't care what I say. It's not about if she care what you say. Your job is to call the bullshit out, not only if somebody cares what you say. Like, my kids never have cared about, well, what mama say that I don't like. Mama got a job and mama gonna do a job. And that's the only thing I care about. I don't care about if you care about what I'm saying. But see, again, starting in the family, if you got family members that's on some dumb shit and you ain't saying nothing because you feel like, well, ain't nothing you can do. So why you complaining about the black community if you won't even as much as chastise the people that you owe it to chastise? Why you talking about the next female that ain't your chick? That or the next dude that you ain't never met talking about who's this and who's that? You ain't even talking to the people in your own family. When the last time you talked to your father? Like, I'm just saying. Like, these females and men alike are just doing way too much on the internet. Like, they're not in real life having real relationships and seeing what life is truly about. And then they get here and most people think the real world is exactly what's in their algorithm. Like, you watch a video of one thing and then they keep showing you that same thing and you think the whole world is exactly what's on your algorithm. Get out and touch some real grass and sometimes go other places and touch grass. How about that? Like, travel, for goodness sake. Like, it's really not hard. But if all you want to do is complain, you the real coon. Because you out here acting like you for change, but you really ain't for change.
Exactly. So Bad Duck had a question in the chat. I was typing in the chat, but I'm just gonna explain it. Right. So essentially what coons initially were they were black people that were viewed as disrespectful to white people. They were agitators, right? The Toms, the Sambos, and the Mammies, they were fetch and step black people. They were people that didn't give any pushback, didn't give any problems to white people at all. So what white people did, because the coons were actually gaining a lot of popularity and power, they turned the coon archetype into a caricature. And they grossly over exaggerated a lot of points to take power away from the educated black person in America. Mm-hmm. So when other black people call me and mine coons because we're speaking educated to an educated degree about a topic and they don't agree, but they're just making emotional arguments, is actually a very complimentary, but it's just the point. You know, it's a racist terminology. Right. So logically, your defense of trying to convince me that someone is a racist cannot be to use racist terminology. Mm-hmm. It's defeatist in nature. Right. Now, let me stop. I don't be trying to educate y'all like we at college. We chilling. But Lola, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you. I got one last clip to show. Stay up here for this clip.
Samuels sadly passed away yesterday, and people are celebrating his death on social media.
Ding dong. The Wicked Witch is dead. Didn't follow him because I didn't like the way he talked to women. But now we ain't got to worry about that and got to hear him no more.
I can definitely understand people who disagree with some of Kevin's opinions and dislike him, but celebrating his death and saying that he deserved it is just so disgusting and awful. I genuinely have no respect for these people.
And ultimately, you know, okay, let me remove this and let me fix my background. Sorry, I was doing too much. I was playing with backgrounds. Ultimately, this is the point. The same way you felt about Kevin Samuel, have that much respect for the next human being. And if you can't, don't think that your disrespect is not going to be met with criticism. And don't double down on ignorance because people bring you reasonable critiques. Or do so. That's cool. Just open your mouth and remove all doubt that you're a fool. That is what we have been actually just been sitting around waiting for. Because a lot of y'all just be doing stuff that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, this was a super good build. Appreciate everyone for being here. Catch me in the next one. And I'll see y'all soon. Bye, y'all. Bye.
Step in the room, it'll mood, it'll wave. Gloss on my lips and my hustle well paid. Silk in my step, got a vibe you can't